All right, welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Fletch, aka TheIndianJesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. How's everybody doing tonight? Want to give a big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch this, even though you missed the live party, guys. That is the best part, I promise. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So I was just live yesterday, so hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. Let's also say thank you to my6shirt.com. Whatever your persuasion, they've got something for you. And of course, it is the only place to get your very own The Indian Jesus official merch. Only at my6shirt.com. All right. What is good? Welcome. We got Melted Mind Media in the building. Zippy the Strange. Welcome. Morty is back. The countdown is on until when he dips out of there, but he is back. So welcome. We have an interesting show today. One of my favorite topics to cover with you guys, because it's one of the topics that I don't know very well. We actually covered, I don't remember exactly what it was. Maybe one of you guys do. But we actually did cover somebody talking about this protest that NuanceBro went to. And we were talking about getting a bunch of white women together, 25,000 white women getting together at 5 a.m. to protest the pew pews, and they actually did it. So shout out to them for actually getting out there at 5 a.m. on a Monday and protesting. But shout out even more to NuanceBro for also getting out there and giving them the business. And one thing that I really appreciate about NuanceBro and how he does this stuff is that he is obviously, he is representing his own opinion, but he also likes to play the devil's advocate. So he'll go to somebody that he agrees with and act as against them to see, to flesh out their arguments. And it really shows that even though people might agree with you, that doesn't mean that they think the same thing. And a lot of times people are, even if they have the quote unquote right opinion, they have it for the wrong reason. So we're going to get into all of that. Make sure you like and subscribe, guys. You know I would do it for you if you had a channel. And if you do, let me know. I will do it for you. As always, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
Guys, we're here in Colorado at the state capitol in Denver at the Here for the Kids rally to ban guns and buy them back. They want to get the governor to do an executive order to ban guns.
What's good, little toes? We struggle streaming already.
And it's about 5:20 a.m. in the morning. And this is the crowd we have if you want to pan around and take a look.
So, not quite 25,000.
So let's go talk to people, see what's...
But a decent showing, I'd say.
What's going on? So why are we out here today?
We are white women who realize that our communities of color don't have the power and voices to make change around gun control when they're the most impacted communities. And so in honor of those individuals who we care about and see that are impacted the most by gun violence, we want to use our power and privilege in order to make a change and really pressure our politicians and those who lead our government to make change around violence, especially gun violence, and asking them to really take a look at what they can do to make a difference, which is buying back guns and banning guns, so that we can stop the violence, especially here in Colorado, where we have the highest number of mass shootings. And most of us are mothers who have children who are in schools.
Do I hear what I think I hear? The upswing, the upspeak? Oh, mother. Most of us mothers have children who are in schools. So far, reasonable positioning of the, where you're starting off. That, you're caring about the children, and so your idea is to come here and get rid of all the guns because the guns are hurting the children. But obviously, it's a little bit deeper than that. There's a little bit more nuance, isn't there?
It's been, I think, a little too close to home this year with shootings at East High School. And so that is one reason I'm here.
That's always a weird one to me. Like, well, it's a little too close to home this time. Like, when kids in another state got shot, I didn't really care. But now it's in my state. Like that's a weird, very emotional way to look at this issue. Zippy says if communities of color got off their ish and protecting themselves and got the criminals in office to lay off the Jim Crow gun law, you'd wind up with less criminals on the street. Fair enough.
It's just the impact on our local community this year alone. But the number of mass shootings just keeps increasing, and we need a change.
Surely people of color have been able to come together to affect change before, right? Like, because it seems to be the implication is, oh, because of their skin color, they're not able to affect change like we white people are, sort of thing.
Yup, that's exactly what they think. What other reasoning could there be behind let's get only white women? Why?
I would say yes, that collectively there is change, but when you look at what the history of where guns have come from, it's rooted in white supremacy. It has been used as a way to keep.
Is it though? I don't think it is.
Marginalized populations down. And so when you finally are able to unpack that and say, as a white person, I want to dismantle white supremacy and acknowledge that my skin color and my privilege is part of the issue. I want to then help the communities that are marginalized in unifying their voices and ours as one, but recognizing that I come from a place of power and privilege that minority populations may not come from.
Holy crap. Yeah, exactly. Talk about word soup. Talk about word soup. Just talking point after talking point after talking point, and it doesn't actually mean anything. Like, you didn't actually say anything. It's just word vomit.
And being able to say, how can I amplify your voice? Because I have that power and privilege. So how can I help you get your message across to actually make that change?
Even that little last part. I have the voice that you don't have. I'm privileged because I'm white, and you, as a black person, don't get the whatever. Like, that is racist. That's racist. I don't know. There's no other way around it. Like, it's well-intentioned. I understand, but it is racist. Hey, shout out to Unwanted Foe in the building with the $2 super chat. Thank you. See what happens when you hide? When you hide, you can't get your treats. Come get your treat. Come on. Yeah, let's go. There you go. All right. Thank you. Unwanted Foe. That's right. Every single super chat comes with a treat for Morty, and he's gone. We got to bring him back. Thank you so much. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Morty is definitely a G.
Not to diminish any type of movement that our marginalized communities have been doing for decades and centuries, but really making it more of a socially conscious change around the white supremacy piece.
Sure. I mean, it seems like from the white supremacist perspective that when it comes to guns and minority communities, that the main thing in order to control those populations has been gun control, not like gun rights per se. Like, what do you mean when you say like gun rights, white supremacy? Like, how does that go together?
Well, so if you look back, so our Constitution did not have any minorities who helped build our Constitution. They didn't help write it. It was all men who were white men. It wasn't women.
This is the same argument we saw in the last show. I don't remember. Was it last night? No. Whatever Friday show was. I don't remember. They all run together. But this idea of men have been in power. It's like, okay, that is true. But I am a man. And just because I'm a man and other people who were also men are in power, that doesn't follow. In the same way that, like, you as a woman were not in power in the 16, 1700s, we're all the people who were not in charge. This identity politics makes it seem like because you share a trait with other people from the past, that somehow you are the same. That's racist.
White women, it was white men. And they put into place the Second Amendment.
And again, just a talking point. What does it mean? Okay, so it was white men. What does that mean?
For militias, and they used those militias to enforce white male dominance on our native populations. If you were in Texas, it was on the
Again, how do you enforce your white? What did she say? So they enforce their white male. Oh, come on. Oh,
male dominance.
yeah. How do you enforce white male dominance? What exactly does that look like? I just maybe I'm stupid, but I don't understand what enforce white male dominance means. I understand what enforce means. I understand what white means. I understand what male means, and I understand what dominance means. But you can't just pick individual words that have meanings and put them together and then expect them to make their own new meaning. You have to do that. And the message is going to be manifested with those words. But it seems like you're just throwing words out there and you think a thing, and therefore anything that you say backs up the thing that you think. Like, what? Yeah, you drink water. This is a more this is actually a better argument. This at least has a premise that you have to drink water, and because Hitler drank water, if you drink water, like that's at least an argument there. It's a silly and stupid one, but it has a structure of a completed thought. This does not. Zippy says, blaming men is not helping anyone. Giving special rights to random groups is the same. It's unhelpful. They are just being racist and ignorant while fighting racism and ignorance. Yep. Yep. That's a serious one. We all know Emma Vigilant was definitely clear that if you watch Tim Pool videos, you're a Nazi. You're a Nazi.
On our native populations. If you were in Texas, it was on the Mexican populations. It was during slavery. It was individuals of color that they brought over to work as field hands and make money off the backs of those individuals. So all of the guns from the very beginning in our country have been in place by white men and white supremacy in order to keep individuals from marginalized populations down. So that's kind of what I meant by that.
But it seems like, even
so I could basically summarize her entire position by saying, well, white people were in charge and they used guns to keep that power. That's all she said. That is all she said. White people were in power and they had guns because they wanted to keep that power. That took us 4.5 minutes of content. 4.5 minutes to say that one sentence.
Going back earlier than that, before the Second Amendment was even put into place, we had gun control laws in the country that were aimed at like slave populations, marginalized communities. They basically said only white people could have guns. And it seems like even today, well, if black people have the right to own guns, and you have many civil rights groups, black civil rights groups, you had the Black Panthers back in the day. Malcolm X talked about the Second Amendment in very favorable terms. The Congress on Racial Equality, they even did like an amicus brief in the Heller case. It seems like gun rights is very rooted in African-American history as part of their liberation, whereas gun control has been used as the tool of white supremacy to keep that population down, is it not?
Yep.
I think that something you have to look at is that those populations are also arming themselves against white supremacy. So if you think about it, let's look at it in a different context. Like, so I would say, to your point, possibly, yes.
She still hasn't given an answer. So many words without any meaning.
We were putting in gun control in order to control populations, but populations that were using guns in order to defend themselves against those oppressors. So in a sense, we created our own evil.
But now the goal is to disarm those populations and say...
I would say that the goal is not to disarm populations. I think for here today, our goal is actually to protect this next generation from mass shootings.
Okay, great. That's the goal. Okay, to protect the next generation from mass PPOings. Nothing you've said so far has anything to do with meeting that goal. Nothing.
Isn't the call to ban all guns and buy them back via executive order, which would disarm those populations?
And so if you're not clear, what they are specifically protesting for is for the mayor to use an executive order to ban all guns and hold a buyback through executive order, which the mayor has already said, I'm not going to do that because that's unconstitutional. I understand that we all on this side of the aisle think guns are the boogeyman, but we do in fact have a constitution, And I don't have the power to just override that. And they're still fighting for it. They're like, well, we want it anyway. Yeah, exactly. We want to protect them by disarming them. How does that work? How does that work? I wanted folks to protect the next generation from these by disarming everyone except the government, because the government is trustworthy somehow. That's their logic. That is their logic.
Yeah.
And notice how, again, like 4 words, 2 little things. And we can summarize what she's saying without all these extra qualifiers of actually, technically, when you think about it, and the way that it actually got started in history is that actually white people were systemically and probably almost more than the, like, bro, say the thing, just say the thing. That's some fine gibberish she is speaking. I should know. I am a word soup connoisseur. In fact, indeed you are, sir. Indeed you are.
Yes, absolutely. But it would disarm every population. So in a sense, it's making it more of equality by saying that no one is over another in terms of having guns and using them for.
She just said the quiet part out loud. She just said the quiet part out loud. Yeah, but it's about equality. It doesn't matter if we're harming these people. It doesn't matter if we're taking away from them. As long as everything is equal. Let's bring everyone down to my level. Let's bring everyone down to my level. America. Am I right?
For any type of violence.
Would the implication be like something that the Black Panthers used to talk about is how they can't trust the police, systemic racism. We have to police our own communities, and they would do so with guns, right? And also to prevent police from brutalizing their communities. Are you saying, okay, we're going to disarm you guys, and now you have to exclusively rely on the state and the police, which is historically systemically racist? Yes. I'm sure you would agree with. You're saying, well, we're going to disarm you, and now you have to rely on them. Is that the proposal, or?
No, I mean, I think the proposal for us is, again, rooted in, we just want to really protect our children in this next generation who have been the generation of lockdowns.
Okay, yes, we have established that you want to protect the next generation. The next part of the conversation is how you plan on doing that. And what you're fighting for at this event has already been shot down. So what is it that you are doing here?
That every day,
that population in particular, like, what's the message to them?
I'm so sorry.
So like the Black Panthers or any civil rights organization, Black in particular, that would say, hey, we use these arms to defend ourselves, even historically from KKK mob that would come down and burn down our house. We need these arms to protect ourselves from, unprecedented violence. You look at the Black homicide rate, it's way higher than any of the other, racial groups' homicide rates. So you would say we're going to disarm that population.
I'm not going to answer that question just because I'm not knowledgeable enough to answer that question.
Well, at least you're aware that you're not knowledgeable enough.
I will just say that looking at where this is coming from, we are here because we had folks from those populations asking us to join them in making a movement to just show that guns are a huge issue in this country, and that's kind of what we're aiming for.
Are they, though? You have not proven that. You have not proven that at all.
Is to get those out of our campuses and keeping our kids safe. So that's the number one thing.
With the particular policy proposal today, the governor has actually responded. Are you aware of his response to the protests?
Oh, I said the mayor. It was the governor they're talking about. My apologies.
Today, and about the policy proposal?
I have not. No, I have not seen that.
So
today.
Governor Jared Polis, he put out his office.
Remember, this is 5 a.m. on a Monday. The governor specifically addressed the thing you are asking for, and you're not even aware of it. So what brought you out there? You're obviously not following this that closely.
This has put out multiple statements to news outlets saying that the action being called for today, which is to ban all guns and buy them back via executive order.
Let's actually read this whole thing. It says, from the governor's office, a spokesperson with the governor's office released this statement. We are aware of the plans for this sit-in and share the concerns about preventing gun violence. which is why the governor is committed to making Colorado one of the top 10 safest states. He appreciates the common sense efforts of the legislature to help accomplish this goal, including tougher laws against auto theft, upgrading the state crime lab, and improving safety. The governor called for a landmark extreme risk protection order law, a law he signed in 2019, to be strengthened, and for more legal tools to go after ghost guns, which he will sign into law. The governor also signed landmark bills around waiting periods, raising the age to 21 for gun purchases, and a repeal of the state version of the PLCAA, whatever that is. 10 years ago, action to reduce gun violence while protecting our Second Amendment rights, like the governor has taken in partnership with the legislature, would have been inconceivable. The governor supports the right to peacefully demonstrate, and these individuals to improve safety and prevent gun violence. Their specific requests, an executive order banning all guns, would simply be unconstitutional. It would simply be unconstitutional. So he's not even saying like, no, screw you. He's saying, I'm on your team, but like, that's too far. That's too much. We can't do that. So he said, wonder when people will figure out mass gun violence happens when you take away people's guns and training.
Bingo.
Yep. Yeah. Lots of words with this one. But yeah, I mean, it's in black and white. And again, if you didn't know that this was the case, then how did you find out about this? Like, I feel like you would have to, at least on your way there, be talking about like, oh man, we're still going to go out and have a show and have a presence there, but the governor said this. Nobody there told you this? Yeah. And Zippy says, you can't touch an 18-year-old's gun rights if they can still be drafted for war. Good point. Good point.
Is unconstitutional, plainly unconstitutional in his language, and that it's not something he can do and he's not going to do.
Is this something different? Basically says the same thing. The organization wants him to implement a gun buyback program. A spokesman says staff met with organizers and explained to them that the governor can't just buy back guns on his own. Needs to be a system.
So what are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are that I would say that no one act can always make a change the first time. It takes pressure over and over and over again. And the more pressure that we apply, not just in Colorado, but nationally, hopefully will show that we as a
yeah. Probably read a tweet saying rally against gun violence and didn't expand on it. Just, okay. 5 a.m. on a Monday? Sure. Let's go.
Community and as a population are ready for a change, even if it's a little change. So even if it's, okay, fine, you won't do the executive order to ban guns.
Oh, okay. I thought she was saying that we just want a little change, an executive order to ban all guns. I thought that's what she was saying. Okay, she's saying, all right, if you can't do the executive order, then...
But can you at least raise it to, you have to be 25, the same age to rent a car, to buy a gun?
I think he did that recently with raising the age from 18 to 21, for example.
We just read that.
21, but why do you have to be 25 to drive a car?
So the rational thing would be then, it doesn't really make sense for you to have to be 25, which actually isn't even really a thing. I went to Hawaii in 2013 and rented a van for 10 people. And drove it in my name on my card. So I don't know where this myth comes from. Maybe it's certain companies, but I was 22 or 23 and didn't have any problems. But the point that you're saying, well, this random arbitrary distinction that you have to be 25 to buy a car means that it makes sense to also have guns and whether it's driving or anything else at this same arbitrary age. You have to make that argument. You're not making the argument. You're just saying what you want. And that's fine, but you're not going to get it if you can't explain why you should.
When that can be
drive a car.
To rent a car,
you have to be
25.
Generally speaking, in the country you can drive at 16. So
Yeah, but you can't rent a car until you're 25. So why
What does that have to do with anything?
can't you make it 25 to buy a gun?
And
21.
The Second Amendment is probably the reason.
Well, but why? But again, like you just said, that you can be 16 to drive a car. So if you're 16 to drive a car, but 25 to rent, all of the age things just don't make sense to me.
Okay, that's another position that all of the age stuff doesn't make sense to you. Then if you want to change it, you have to have a reason to change it. If it doesn't make sense to you, then go back home, get another couple hours of sleep, open up a book or get on Google and make it make sense. So he says, worst of all, legal gun law can only deal with hunting, disturbing the peace, and criminal acts. And new gun designs that explode unintentionally. Otherwise, it's an illegal. Yeah. And then, yeah, driving is obviously that's the big difference there, is that it's not a protected right.
I'm just giving that as an example. So, or
a bad example.
Or the buyback, go ahead and have a buyback program. Let's make that statewide. There's a lot of other things and concessions that can be made.
Okay, but you have to determine which one is going to be the best and most practical one, and then fight for that. That's the plan. Don't be like, well, we just like want, a perfect utopia, and, like anything closer to that will be fine. That's not a position. That's not a position.
And so any concession, I think, is a win on this end. But again, it's going to be collective action, continuous collective action. It's not going to be a one-off.
Unwanted Foe said, everything else has ages that don't make sense, so I want to change it to an age that doesn't make sense too, because reasons that I can't explain. Bingo! That's the thought process. That's as far as it goes. That's as far as it go.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cool.
Right. All right, so let's. I want to. How can we do this? So our original poll was, will they eventually take our guns? And 66% of you said yes. So 1/3 of you is keeping up hope, and eventually could be in forever. But I was gonna do a poll. But what did you think of her? What did you think of that showing? Do you think that other people who are in favor of gun control would be happy with what that lady just did?
By the way, guys, if you can hit that like button, it really helps us out in the YouTube algorithm. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell for future videos.
Me too.
All right, so why are we out here today?
Because I'm an educator and I believe that we need to do something about gun violence.
Do what? Do what? If you want to say we have to do something, then you have to present the something. Otherwise, you're just like a crying child. It's not up to the government to figure out how to get you what you want because you want it in this way. You have to present that solution. So many people are like her. Yep.
In our schools and for our young people, they deserve better.
Great. And again, what is better? What does better mean? This is your job to define these things.
By the way.
Elementary, so K2.
Okay. And was like some of the recent, shootings at schools and things like that something that motivated you to come out here?
To be perfectly honest, I've been worried about gun violence I grew up just a few blocks from Columbine, so this has been a part of my experience for the last 20 plus years.
Again, I don't not get it completely, but the fact that 2 in a row, this is coming down, it's like, oh, well, because it's physically, geographically very close to me, it matters more. That's sus.
This is not the recent events have definitely amplified the momentum from others to do something different. I think our legislators are lazy and are choosing to activate political gains instead of thinking really about what does it mean for us to belong to each other and belong to our communities. So,
yeah, Zippy's actually absolutely right here. The thing about gun violence, it's mostly criminal on criminal. So you take guns away from the people, the criminals still have them. So the numbers will go down. If you evaporated every gun from a law-abiding citizen, then, numbers would go down just off of, sheer numbers. There's a lot of guns out there. There's a lot of accidents. There's a lot of angry people. There would be a decrease. But it's not exactly what you're saying. It's not what they think it's going to be, because the people who are going to commit these crimes are already not following the law. You're already not following the law. So what makes you think that another law is going to make them follow that law?
I see you've got this sign here, ban guns, not books. This seems like a protest a bit different from the others. Can you talk about that?
I think this protest is really saying, hey, what are some active ways that we can change the narrative?
That's your issue. It should not be asking, what are some ways that we can change the narrative? It should be presenting ways to say, here is how we can achieve what we want to achieve. That is why this is useless. And you all 250 of you wasted your Monday morning.
If we ban books and ban guns and offer a buyback program, we're providing a solution. Instead of just saying, hey, guns are banned, we're saying, hey, there are other options.
Such as?
Obviously my son, not books. There's so much. We ban
such as
many things in this country.
Such as?
And yet we're not banning the thing that's killing our children.
What would you say to the critics that would say an action like banning all guns would be unconstitutional and therefore they literally just can't do it because it's illegal?
Absolutely. There's, as with anything, there's nuance, right?
Shout out to NuanceBro. Zippy said, give unto comrade, and comrade, and we'll take care of you, comrade. Government is comrade, and you like torturing me. You like torturing me.
Are we saying ban all guns? That would be my hope. That would honestly be my dream. But that's also probably not reality. Yes, people use them for hunting. I work with Native American communities who use lots of different weapons for their subsistence. It's true in all different parts of the country. What I would say is, what is reasonable? What can we do to keep guns out of the hands of people who are harming our communities and harming our neighbors, are making it unsafe for us to go to the grocery store, for us to show up to festivals and events?
Again, lady, this is your role to give the answers to those questions. I can't imagine seeing a problem with the world and then going out and just yelling, hey, somebody fix that. Somebody fix that thing. I don't really know what it is, but can you fix it? Hey, fix it. That's what this is. That's what this is. More kids die by car. I don't know. I'm pretty sure we saw that if you include infants and you cut it off at 17, then that's true. They typically will measure it 1 year old to 19 years old, which is why, it's the biggest thing that come on.
What are the ways that we can secure them? What are the ways that we can have honest and hard conversations about the acceptance of guns, the prevalence of guns in everyday life?
Do I need to say it again? You are the one that needs to answer those questions. When you can answer those questions, then we can have a conversation.
Do you think the best way, though, because you're talking about, like, wait, what's realistic? Like, what can we really achieve? Do you think coming out with the ban all guns via executive order, which the governor put out multiple statements saying, hey, there's no way, and he's passed multiple gun control pieces of legislation. He's like, this is pretty ridiculous. It's like unconstitutional. I'm not going to sign this. I can't do this via executive order. Do you feel like this?
Yeah, I want to vote. It's exactly right. Have millions more law-abiding citizens conceal carry, then see how many of those happen. It's not going to be as many. And I will say, it's definitely going to be a lot still, because as we know, most of these events are, like Zippy said, criminal on criminal. And it happens when it's children. It's usually 15, 16, 17-year-old on 15, 16, 17-year-old. So it's not like innocent kids, like the one in the thumbnail here. The one, let me get rid of this. It's not like this girl hiding under the desk here. That's not who we're talking about. That's not who we're talking about. That is an overwhelming, just fringe case of gun violence.
This is the most reasonable approach because it seems like other anti-gun groups like frown upon this action.
Yeah, that's a good point because he's asking, do you think this this big ask is a good idea? Because other groups are like, yo, what are you doing? You're making us look as crazy as you. I do think there's probably groups out there that are, for gun control that at least are more reasonable than this. And even if that's not, even if that's a red line that we're not going to let them cross anyway, that doesn't change the fact that you're hurting their cause and you're making it even harder for them. So he says, armed governments harm more people than armed citizens. Facts.
I can't speak for the organization, right? I can't speak for this, but I do believe in taking action. And by showing up today, by having a number of particularly white women show up who stand to...
First of all, you're wrong. Nobody is going to even remember. Did any of you even know, outside of us talking about it when we were making fun of it the last time, did any of you even know that this happened? Didn't think so.
Who have not experienced the same degree of oppression, the same degree of safety risks as people of color to show up to something like this.
See, that exposes the issue in the thinking. To think that safety risks due to skin color has anything to do with your efficacy to stamp all over the Constitution is silly. That is a silly notion. Again, what does that have to do with what we're talking about?
Yes, banning guns maybe isn't the answer, but that's not the organization saying that. That's me saying, let's be realistic. But I am saying we have to do something, and until there's a large enough voice saying we have to do something,
again, you can get the loudest voice and there's many people saying we have to do something. We have to do a thing. Something. A thing. There's something that can be done. Can we do something? Do you see how unhelpful that is? Do you see how unhelpful and useless that is?
Whether it's a ban or whether it's more legislation, we've got to show up. We can't sit at home and watch our children die. It's not worth it. We have a responsibility to our future generations and to our neighbors now to do something.
To do something. To do something. It's just all lip service
about it. So that's why I'm here today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Awesome. By the way, today's video wouldn't be possible without today's video sponsor.
No,
all right.
That's a pew guy, so we're not gonna do that. But definitely go check them out, and thank you to NuanceBro for the content. Before we dive back in, Little Toe says ban cars, guns, high places, gravity, fire, and everything else.
What?
That's pretty much what they want. That's pretty much what they want. And that, yep, feel good activism. That's all it is. So because if you cannot be realistic all the time, anything you create is a sandcastle waiting for the waves to destroy it. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, people need to be realistic. People need to be grounded and understand how the world works before they start demanding things change.
Why are we out here today?
To see if we can get Jared Polis to ban guns so that kids can stop being shot up in schools for no reason.
And so the governor's put out some statements on this. Have you seen his statements?
I'm not.
So he's put out a few statements to different media outlets saying he's met with organizers and that this is unconstitutional and it's outside of his powers as governor. So he's not going to do something that's plainly unconstitutional in his words.
Okay. I mean, he's still the most powerful politician in Colorado and has a lot of sway and has a lot of power in getting the legislative bodies to do things.
So yeah, I mean, like the president's the most powerful man in the world. So like if he can't turn water into wine, then who could?
Jesus,
you know, I mean, Jared needs to, good one.
Oh, while that whether or not that's true doesn't mean that this is a useless act. It also is saying use your power to influence the greater good and protect the people that are your constituents.
That's the sad thing, is that if you actually did gather 25,000 people with the same message, with an actual solution, even if I personally wouldn't agree with it, that would be a show. That would be using and taking advantage of this power and privilege that you say you have. But this ain't it. I have to say, pools kill more kids than guns. Again, that's not true. That's definitely not true.
So
it seems like he's been taking some action on gun control as of late. For example, I think a few days ago banned ghost guns in the state of Colorado, raised the age from 18 to 21, I believe a 3-day waiting period, and then past actions with the state of Colorado, magazine capacity limits, red flag laws, things of that nature. Where do you think Colorado's
and which are all also unconstitutional, by the way,
sits when it comes to gun control, and what would you like to see in addition to all that?
I mean, that's a great question. I don't know that I have. I mean, I think we do okay. Obviously, there are states that are way behind us in terms of what we're doing and what they're able to do. However, I think there's always more to be done, and there's always something else that we can. I mean, we've had like 3 or 4 shootings at East High School, which is like a mile from here down the road. I mean, there's more to be done. There's no reason that we should have as many guns as we do, whether it's for, I know Colorado loves to talk about ranching and all of that, and those ranchers can absolutely keep their guns for the purposes that they use them.
Well, unless you get your way today at the protest of banning all guns.
Exactly. Like this is the same issue that I had with all these Black Lives Matter protests that way back, not just the Summer of Love ones in Kenosha and anywhere else that were burning buildings down. Obviously, I had issues with those for the damage, but I had the same issue with what are you doing here? Just because you are in a place doesn't mean anything. We came out here and showed our power, and exactly. Zippy was on the nose, or excuse me, unwanted foe on the nose, saying feel good activism. You're out there to make yourself feel good. Now, you may be deluded to think that you're actually going to help things, but you're not. So at the end of the day, all you're doing is virtue signaling. You're showing other people that, hey, I'm doing something, and that I stand for this. And then you can go home feeling like, I did something today. I helped those poor brown people. Those poor brown people who can't help themselves, who can't stand outside a building themselves. I did it for them. And now the world is going to be better because of me. Me. Can't take it. I can't take it.
Well, it's not all the guns, right? It's like
the organizers of this protest believe ban all guns. I think even for like National Guard and police. And all.
She doesn't even know what they're there for. Yes, it is specifically a protest for a specific executive order to ban all guns. That is crazy. That is crazy.
That, and those ranchers can absolutely keep their guns for the purposes that they use them.
Well, unless you get your way today at the protest of banning all guns.
Well, it's not all the guns, right? It's like
the organizers of this protest believe ban all guns. I think even for like National Guard and police and all that is something that they call
great. I can't say I'm not for it because I just don't think they're.
She's like, yeah, sounds good to me. I don't know. I was just out here, but yeah, whatever we're doing. Okay, sounds good.
There's evidence all over the world that says we don't need this kind of gun presence in our world.
Okay, sure. But you brought up evidence. Like I always say, two people can have a conversation and it doesn't need to be, okay, do you have a source on that? But you said there's plenty of research. Okay, I would love to see that research. What research are you talking about? Oh, just, research. Like the people.
What?
That says there are plenty of other countries who have these kinds of laws, who have very common sense gun laws, and don't have these kinds of shootings.
They don't have these kinds of shootings, but they have, say it with me, knife crime. Anyone who's spent more than 5 minutes trying to understand this issue knows that knife crime and acid attacks, if we just talk about homicides, the numbers are, there's no meaningful difference. There's no statistical difference. So yes, there's less shootings, But we would also have less stabbings in America if we took away all the knives and forks. You're not saying anything. I know you think you did something. I know you think that you did something, but you didn't.
Unprecedented anywhere else. Why would we have that exist here? Why are people okay with that in the sense with their kids being murdered, with their friends being murdered, with their family being murdered for whatever reason?
For freedom. That's the reason. For freedom. The ability to keep ourselves free, whether that is free from the threats of another person, of the government, of people like you, of anything else. And again, if you actually took the time to truly understand this issue, that you woke up to get there at 5 a.m. on a Monday morning, put a little bit of that effort. Instead of showing up at 5, show up at 6:30 and spend that first 90 minutes just Googling stuff. Ah, yeah, that would work out a lot better, wouldn't it?
For any reason other than like pure hatred and evil.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's anybody who's pro 2A is just about hatred and evil. What does she not have a satanic shirt on? Am I blind? Oh, okay. Just want to make sure.
So, as far as
Zippy says, common sense. They have a ton of other crime and government constantly harassing the people over bad laws and fines because the government does not care, because the government does not need to care, because they have all the guns.
is like the whole idea of today is basically to reduce violence overall.
Yeah.
Let's reduce death when it comes to like homicides, killings. What do you think would be the #1 policy proposal to achieve something like that?
I don't think there's a silver terrible pun.
I guess one that would create the most
Ah,
impact.
she was gonna say silver bullet. Ah! Oh man. Oh man. Oh, cheers to that. Oh, cheers to that. Oh man, let's see that one again. Let's see that one again. That was beautiful. Oh, that was
What do
beautiful.
you think would be the #1 policy proposal to achieve something like that?
Wait, ready?
I don't think there's a silver
Bullet. Oh man. One more time.
Policy proposal to achieve something like that.
I don't think there's a silver terrible pun.
I guess one that would create the most impact.
I think that's a really complicated question. I don't think there's one like obvious piece of legislation. I think the way that the systems are built, they're really interconnected. I think they're really problematic from really the top down. So I mean, I think it's going to take a lot of organizing. It's going to take a lot of policy change. It's going to take a lot of like shifting in our ideals about how we think about how we prioritize various things.
Okay, how should we prioritize various things? You're just saying things. You don't know what's going on. You don't know what people are pushing for. You don't know why people want things the way they are. You don't know what you want to change it to, and you don't know how that would change in the first place. So what are you doing besides making NuanceBro and me some great content
in our lives? But I don't think there's one. I don't think there's like one thing.
About, like a few, like some things that like policy proposals that you think would actually result in significant reductions in our, kill.
She's not going to have anything. She's not going to have anything. She already would have said that. She doesn't have anything.
In our killings, I mean, I think gun bans would be a huge start. That's why I'm out here.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you?
It's just black and white with these people. It's just black and white with these people. She just said, well, there's no single answer. It's very complicated. There's no other. It's like, well, a start would be completely putting a kibosh on the whole thing. I don't get it. How can you be this willfully ignorant and also that active? Like when I was this ignorant, I was just sitting in my dorm room and smoking weed all the time. I wasn't out protesting for things I didn't understand.
But it seems like, based on what the governor said, it doesn't seem like that's very realistic given the Second Amendment and that existing.
That whole thing.
But saying the Second Amendment is not. We've changed many amendments many times.
It's pretty difficult. It's
It
probably
is difficult,
it's
but that
probably
doesn't
not
mean we
gonna-
don't try.
Okay, so then try. You're not trying. You're just standing around without any idea what's going on.
Sure, but real, like, especially in the short term, the Second Amendment's probably not going to be overturned. There's enough states and like people putting up a wall to stop something like that from happening. It seems the governor seems to think so as well. So, like, I guess in the more near terms, if we can stop more lives being lost right now, what do you think are some solid policy proposals to like reduce death like that in our country?
I'm not a policymaker. I don't know.
I told you. What did I tell you?
You can read these people from a mile away.
I don't know that I have that. I don't feel comfortable saying that there's one or that there are even a handful of things.
Sure.
I think there's overwhelming.
You can't say that there's one or a handful of things, but I want you to do this one thing to solve the problem.
What?
How can you not hear yourself? Listen to it again. Listen. She's speaking literally out of both sides of her mouth.
I'm not a policymaker. I don't know. I don't know that I have that. I don't feel comfortable saying that there's one
So I don't feel comfortable saying that there's
or
one
that there are even a handful of
or
things.
even
I
a
think
handful of things.
there's overwhelming systemic change that has to happen.
But we want to do this one thing.
And this is just one piece of that.
You mentioned
Is
some
it?
other countries,
Is it?
for example, some of them have taken actions with respect to gun control and things like that. But there's some countries, for example, El Salvador, which really didn't have much of like gun rights for people to begin with, and they already had gun restrictions. But they've had one of the highest homicide rates in the world, and they reduced it by, I think, well over 90% in recent years because of certain criminal justice policies.
Mhm.
Is that also something like in that realm that you think could be beneficial here in the United States?
I
don't know.
You're asking some complicated questions.
It's a complicated problem.
Complicated problems.
It is a complicated problem. That's why your basic ass simple solution is not even a solution. Welcome to the conversation.
Absolutely. I think the criminal justice side is, again, it's a huge systemic issue, right? So there's a lot of things there that I don't think just one that some one policy change is going to do that. I don't.
So Zippy says it would be easier to offer more training, investing in more ranges, get people to talk to take training classes for free range time. What is it they say about education? Nail on the head. Nail on the head. Why is this not how you are trying to approach the issue? It's because you don't understand the issue. It's not that complicated. You just aren't trying. Hey, shout out to the Melted Mind Media for the $5 super chat. Said just had to up Unwanted Foe to be the new sponsor of the stream. Let's see if we can get him over here. Marty! You want a treat? Come on. You gotta come over here to get it. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. Yeah, good boy. We got him. Let's go. Come on. Right here. Let's go. Come on. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Melted Mind Media, the new sponsor of the stream. Let me get that banner for you, brother.
I don't think you're talking about huge systemic racist issues that are criminalizing some people. And El Salvador is a really different place. There are very different freedoms there. I don't know a ton about their government structure, but I can't
Of course you don't.
really compare. I think, I don't really know. I'm not sure that I can answer that. I just know that there's things to be done. There are things we can do, and showing up and showing out and showing people that it doesn't have to be this way. And how we do that, how we get there is complicated. And I don't know that this will be the answer. I don't know that whatever policy change even if it can't pass, or if we can't get people to pass this kind of
Same message from everyone. Well, there's things that we can do, and we can do things that we know we think we can do, and we can do something, and something has to be done. And we have to do something about something being done. And if we don't do something, then nothing will get done. Is this like the Kamala Harris SNL hour? Try to be exactly like Kamala Harris? What is this? Unwanted Foe said another case of having what she believes is a great idea, but not thinking it through to completion. Not considering the connected factors that would drastically change for both good and bad. Well said. Well said. Melted Mind Media says knowledge is power and they lack a brain. Unfortunately. Actually, I would say, unfortunately, that's not true at all. This is your average human being. This is your average person. This is with a brain fully intact and working. As the late great George Carlin said, think about how dumb the average person is.
Stupid.
Half the people are dumber than that. So, I mean, if that is not a call to say, hey, we got to make sure that we're showing out, but with actual information, then I don't know what does. Zippy says, also, dial back the nickel and diming gun rules and laws. If you're not a criminal, you should be left alone. And gun trade is a basic to a right.
Bingo!
They just want to stick their sticky fingers wherever they can get it. Wherever they can get it. They don't know why. Their overlords just told them, hey, guns are bad and your children are dying because there's guns that exist. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we got to do that then. Never once talking to somebody with a critical mind thinking, I wonder if there's more I can learn about this. I promise you, there is.
Legislation, I still think it's important to show up and let people know that, like, this is not how we want to be living.
So we have these people following us everywhere we go. It's these two individuals. Maybe you can see them in the background. I'll probably zoom in on them so you guys can see who I'm talking about, but I'm going to keep walking and you'll see they're going to follow me.
There's always one. There's always one. They can't deal with the fact that somebody is engaging in free speech. So they have to be there and shut you down because you're so evil that your words are even worse than these firearms that we want to ban. They're even worse. So he says the government wants their dicks in everything. It's pure power tripping.
Bingo!
Yep.
You can see they're still following me. I just moved all the way to the other side of the court and they're still following me. So this is very interesting. In fact, you know what I think I'm going to do? I think I'm going to go pretend to talk to people just to see what they do. They're going to come up and say something. So
fall into the trap. Go on, get him. Go on, get him. Go on, get him. Do. I love this. Creeper. Like, how could you think this is a good use of your time? Is it okay if I
pretend to interview you guys for like a few seconds?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to test something out real quick. So we're pretending to interview. Hello, what's your name? Blah, blah, blah.
I'm done.
Cool. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So the reason I was doing that is because this...
Got him.
I'm just here to make sure you don't harass. Oh, I see.
I'm just here to make sure you're not harassing anybody by harassing you.
I mean, I feel like you're kind of harassing me by following me everywhere. It's very strange.
This is a peaceful protest.
I agree.
She has kindly volunteered her time to be here and make sure that all
Girl
of us are safe.
Girl code. You have no idea what's going on. He just came up to you and was very polite and said, hey, I just want to test something out. And then pointed directly to her, showing you what was going on. And of course, you're going to take her side. Because man bad, right?
I mean, because the organ just, thank you. Just respectfully, this whole thing.
I'm not interested in being interviewed.
I understand. Well, I'm not interested in being followed, but you're still following me regardless. So I don't appreciate that. Because I understand this is about white women and they have like privilege and things like that. So following a person of color around everywhere, she's following me around everywhere.
Yo, man, that is how you do it. That is how you do it. Play their games. Well, just following a person of color around. I mean, that's.
She's following me. Could you please stop following me? We're gonna try again. So it seems, are you like the
Okay, so this is what I was talking about. This guy has a sign that says, "I will not comply." The red flag. They really want something, but it's a pro-gun thing. So he's gonna talk. He's gonna talk to this dude about his positions, and I want you to pay attention to how fair he is actually being, and not just like, yeah, these people suck. It's an actual conversation, and so even with the people that you have agreement on, there's no issue with you exposing the flaws in your own thinking or their thinking. As long as you're doing it in good faith, then you should be willing to have these conversations so that you, if you are wrong, then you can be corrected so that the next time you don't walk around with all these wrong ideas.
lone pro-gun guy out here? What's the deal?
I am the lone pro-gun guy out here.
I wish I had the sound effect that in the westerns, like doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
Seems like Colorado is obviously not a good place for guns. I take it. Talking to half of the ladies here, they're not with it.
What are you trying to achieve by being out here?
I'm not really trying to achieve nothing, really. I'm just letting people know that I have my guns. I'm going to keep my guns. And
Hey, that's fair. I'm not really trying to achieve anything. I'm not trying to achieve anything. And I think, in the context of what's going on, the organization is trying to achieve an executive order. So I think that, obviously, having his opinion expressed is what he's trying to achieve. But I think he's saying, like, look, I'm not trying to, change anybody's mind. I'm not trying to change any laws. I'm just letting y'all know there is a presence of people who are going to push against this if it goes any further. Hey, shout out to Opus. Welcome to the party. Wrong place for the secret word, but I appreciate it anyway. That's right. You guys can get a shout out in my daily videos. All you got to do is make it to the end of the video. I'll give you the secret word and you comment in the comments below and I'll shout you out. If it's not the next video, it'll definitely be the day after because I got to get, upload them the day before because they always flag my itch. Speaking of which, you guys know how bad YouTube is with me. So if you haven't already, please hit that like button and subscribe, share, all that stuff. It really, really, really does help. Thank you so much. Were we saying something? Oh, well, welcome to the party, Opus. Unwanted Foe said, ironic. He'll be the only one who actually achieves his goal in this protest. Yup.
And there's nothing nobody could do about it. I'm going to protect my family like these people want to protect their politicians. It's the same thing.
I see it says, I will not comply with the red flag. I see the Soviet
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's got the hammer and sickle on it. I didn't see that before.
Union flag there.
Really won't.
So they I mean, when we
Oh, I will not comply with the red flag they really want. Gotcha.
talk about red flag in particular, Colorado has red flag laws in place. What are your thoughts on that?
I think they're wrong. It's just like right now, this lady could think I'm a danger. She could go and say, hey, he shouldn't have guns. They could come and take my guns for no reason. That is wrong.
Facts. Short, concise, to the point. That could happen. That is wrong. So I don't want to support that. Awesome.
What would you say to the people who say, look, a lot of these mass shooting cases, for example, these people had prior, like indicators of whether they had a lot of health treatment or whatever. People in their families, people at their schools all knew there was something wrong with these kids a lot of the times in most cases. Shouldn't there be a process by which we can disarm people who have mental health issues and things like that?
No, because if you think about it, half of these people have a manifesto. They have some kind of manifesto going on, telling what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, and everything else. A manifesto.
Manifesto. Yeah, I was just saying it's shocking how socialist the left has become. Communist isn't even an exaggeration anymore. It's really not, and it's not even it's not even derogatory anymore either. They happily fly communist symbols all the time. I don't get it. But yeah, so he's saying they all these. So again, the reason that this part of it is interesting is because this guy is not trying to push any legislation. He just has his opinion. And now NuanceBro is coming in and playing devil's advocate and giving us an alternative perspective, even though he is completely against what the protest is for. he can still have a conversation and create value in that conversation.
The manifesto. So they're basically telling everybody what they're going to do.
Be nice.
If I seen it, I would turn them in and say, hey, this is what they plan on doing. I can't just say, my girlfriend has a gun, she's crazy, go take it from her. There's a difference between the two.
Due process and everything, like if you had to go in front of the courts and stuff and present your case and say, hey, here's the evidence for why this person is a danger and shouldn't possess firearms, don't you think there should be a process by which you can effectively disarm someone, which we already do basically with like criminal stuff? I mean, do you support allowing people with criminal convictions to own firearms as well?
No, you got to be a law-abiding citizen.
Okay, so now there are some constraints. So he was saying, no. I mean, I don't think he specifically said no constraints, but he was basically saying, that people should be allowed to have their guns, and a talking point from the right or from pro-gun people when these events happen is the mental health aspect. So perfectly reasonable line of questioning, perfectly legal or reasonable line of questioning here. Obis said, no gun legislation without constitutional amendment. It is simple.
So, so why would?
But if there's like I said, if there's a red flag law and they come and take my guns, I would have to go to court, prove my case. Mm-hmm. I have to prove my innocence before they prove me guilty.
What if the burden was shifted where the state has to prove it against you and you don't necessarily have to? The burden of proof is not on you. Would you support a law like that? Perhaps there's many Republicans in Congress.
So that's interesting. If it was, so it would basically be like a civil case where the burden of proof is on the government or whoever else to show that there are active signs that you are a danger. I still don't like that, but that's at least more reasonable. What do you guys think about that? So let's say red flag laws, but the government has to prove guilt. Yay or nay? Zippy says, if they got out of prison, they paid their due to society, then they should be allowed. Terms of parole can limit gun rights, though. I agree with that 100%. 100%. I think, when you get a punishment, you pay the punishment, and then you're done paying the punishment. There's obviously we have the registration, you know what I mean? But I don't see any reason why just committing a crime, especially if it's a non-violent crime, would have anything to do with you not owning a gun. Oba said, you can come at me with whatever gun laws. Some might even sound good to me, but I will tell you the same thing. Not without constitutional amendment. And Zippy agrees.
I think Dan Crenshaw in the past used to support laws like this. What do you think about, certain laws that put in the protections for firearm owners to say, hey, so we don't get any good people in there, we'll make it as difficult as possible to, we just really want to get these bad actors who, the very small population that might commit a mass shooting.
No, there should be no gun laws at all.
No gun laws.
No gun laws at all. Besides for law abiding citizens, there should not be.
I mean, do you think guns should be allowed in prisons, for example?
Oh no.
So, but even law-abiding citizens, if they want to go into should they not be able to carry or something?
So now we're getting into some more interesting territory because we're not just fighting over the middle ground. Now that we're on this side of the fence, we can get into the minutia on this side. So that's a very interesting hypothetical. If you are a law-abiding citizen and you are going to visit somebody in prison, should you be allowed to carry that gun into the prison? I would have no issue with that, with that not being allowed, just because of the fact that there are violent felons there. So, I mean, I don't know. Zippy said, non-violent felonies are close to being overturned so people can own guns. Yeah, I have heard, a lot of people talking about that, and I think that's a big thing. I think that's a big thing. That especially, you know, if you had some kind of like DUI or something that is a felony, but has nothing to do with your propensity to be violent towards other people. Even if you would say that like driving recklessly, driving under the influence would be being a danger to other people. We're talking about attacking other people. It's a different thing. Not sure what you mean by property rules. What do you mean? Oba said if the law makes that much sense as you can't carry in prisons, then it shouldn't be easy to amend the Constitution to make it happen. If the law makes that much sense as you can't carry in prisons, then shouldn't it be easy to amend the Constitution to make it happen? I'm not sure what you're getting at. The politicians can't get it done, then the problem is with them, not the Constitution. Well, that part I agree with. That part I definitely agree with.
Something like that, or
So if I went to go visit somebody in prison, is what you're saying?
I guess so, yeah.
No. Why would I be trying to take a gun into prison anyway?
Well, I mean,
But yeah,
for
That's
whatever
not
reason,
the point. That's not the question, brother.
What about
there should be places like government buildings that you can't take guns into. I understand
there's
that.
some gun laws that you support.
I understand that.
Yeah.
I don't support it.
What about
I
nuclear
understand.
weapons? Do you think people should own nuclear weapons?
Oh no, not
So
at
that's
all.
another. It's not gun.
Whoa. Hey, guy. I thought you were super 2A here. You're trying to ban an entire, what would you say, entire category of firearms? That doesn't seem very base to me.
Gun law per se, but it's a limit on arms of sorts. So there is a line that you draw these things, right?
It does say bear arms, not bear guns.
No, I do not draw no kind of
You
lines.
said no nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapon is not a
It
gun.
doesn't have to be a gun. But
It doesn't
at least
say gun.
something like that.
It doesn't say the right to bear guns. It says the right to bear arms.
What about laws saying, hey, guns shouldn't explode in your hands and like kill you, right? So a defective firearm. There should be laws against something like that, right?
Why? Is that a thing? Are people fighting for there to be no liability laws if guns explode? Because I think that's a completely different thing. That's a malfunction of a product. You in the same way that if I buy my Stream Deck and it doesn't play the sounds, then whether or not the sounds I'm playing are allowed, like let's say I just had like the N word and the RP word and all that stuff, and I was just spamming that over and over and over. Whether or not that's not a case of free speech. That's just a simple thing of I bought a thing and I need it to work the way it's supposed to, and if it doesn't, that's on you because you're the manufacturer. Very curious. So I'm going to come back to these comments. I want to see where he's going with this.
If a manufacturer creates a gun that literally blows up in your hand and it like kills you and it's super dangerous,
Do they have those laws for the Teslas that are catching on fire when
just basic
people are
like
buying
consumer
them?
protection
I think they do, first of all, but
type laws. You would support something like that?
No.
If it no?
No.
They should be able to create guns that explode in people's hands and
They-
faces.
Yes, if you want to bring it up like that, no.
Okay.
Who's
Okay.
going to, Smith & Wesson's going to build a gun that's just going to blow up? Come on,
No,
get
I
real.
agree. So there's
well, but that's why I'm curious why NuanceBro is asking this, because again, this seems to be in a different lane of conversation, and maybe he did was like, okay, I'm just going to pivot and talk about something else, but I'm a little confused. So Zippy said sensitive place rules are a no-go. Courts and prisons should allow carry. Now, in theory, you could have it set in a way to be authorized on the property. You get a court order. Unusual and dangerous is a classic gun law. It deals with poison weapons and the accidental exploding weapons. So under you, yeah. So, but, and that's I'm still confused. Is there somebody saying that if Smith & Wesson did build a gun that was just going to blow up in your face, that Smith & Wesson shouldn't be held accountable for those injuries? Is that how it works? I would think that if you sell a product and it kills or maims a person, then you would be held responsible. I don't understand what that has to do with the Second Amendment. I'm very confused by that. Obis said, prisons don't allow you to carry metal objects in. The gun thing is a non-issue in this case because it's already handled. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Zippy says, under unusual and dangerous, nuke is unusual. And yeah, that I would... But so the wouldn't doesn't 2A override this as well? Unwanted Foe said one company would want to delete their customer base. This present doesn't make sense. Yeah, okay. At least you guys are with me. This is what I need you guys for. All right, let's just see where it goes.
So no, there's no laws. Only criminals should be the ones that don't have guns. Anybody else should have them.
Well, what about this idea? What about
Fair enough. Only criminals shouldn't have guns. Everybody else should. And then, if you're a criminal, then you do your time, and then you can get a gun.
this idea that, hey, once you served your time, you've served your time, and you should be able to be a free person in the rest of society like anybody else?
No.
No?
No.
So if someone jaywalks, should they have their gun taken away from them?
No.
Okay, but that's...
There's a big difference.
Okay, so what...
Wait,
what's
hold on. Because again, this guy is also not very well spoken, but he's not putting himself out there as trying to change any legislation. He's just a dude exercising his free speech about his own opinion. So he is held to a very different standard than the people who are out there, trying to literally stomp all over the Constitution. Hey, shout out to Indie Film! What should we do? Indie Film is behind, so he's not going to see this yet. I bet you that Indie Film is going to say, I don't have it. I had something. I wanted to have something. So when he gets up to this point, he was like, whoa, I did do that. But welcome to the party, brother. Yeah, he did mean, yeah. The latter hypothetical is not absurd. The idea of owning a nuke, but or was he talking about the crimes, the jaywalking crimes? These it does make sense to ask, like, okay, what about jaywalking? If you're saying criminals, that's a crime. So we have to draw the line at what crime where. The other one though about the exploding gun, that one went right over my head. Any Film said the first gun control laws were set to keep blacks from owning guns. It was Democrats that did it. Yup. Yes, thank you, Zippy. Yep, but that's exactly what the first chick was talking about. She's like, it's steeped in white supremacy, and then I'm like, no. That's what your party and your position is. Specifically, to keep them away from people of color.
Anybody else?
No.
No?
No.
So if someone jaywalks, should they have their gun taken away from them?
No.
So originally he said, no. Let's back it up a little more because I think I just want to get the whole thing.
Time, and you should be able to be a free person in the rest of society like anybody else.
No.
So he's saying that even if you commit a crime, you pay the price, whether it's a ticket or a sentence, then you do that. Should you come back into society like anybody else? And he said, no.
No? No. So if someone jaywalks, should they have their gun taken away from them?
So now he's saying, no, if you jaywalk, you should be allowed to have a gun. And so the obvious thing there would be like, no, I meant like violent felonies. But he didn't say that. So we're just going on what he's saying.
No.
Okay, but
there's a big difference.
Okay, so
there is a big difference.
What's the level of crime? Like DUI?
It's already there for DUI. If you got a DUI, you can take a gun.
I don't think that's true.
No?
I think if you have a DUI, you can still own guns.
Okay.
So like,
you could be right on that one. I don't know that one for sure.
Would you support banning guns for people with DUIs?
No.
But you were just saying it was already there.
I'm talking. Okay. You got me on that one. Sure. But yes, no.
And again, I like this guy. He's just like, oh, all right, yeah. You got me. I was wrong. None of the women are going to do that at all. Bruh. So he says, these days, you go to a prison, they can steal your stuff. If you not claim it in 30 or 90 days, you mean if you go to a prison and you lose your stuff and you don't claim it, why don't end sentences in ellipses? That's gonna make me think you have more to say.
Violent criminals, yes. DUIs, no, because they're not out there.
What about drug addicts?
Yes, drug addicts.
So you support banning it for drug addicts?
Yes, because they have mental problems.
Well, when I said earlier about mental problems, you said you wouldn't support any laws against people with mental problems.
I don't remember you saying mental
Remember,
problems.
like with the red flag laws and stuff like that?
Oh, with the red flag laws. Yeah, no, you shouldn't have them. That's what I said. No.
Then how would you ban people with mental health problems from owning the guns?
Because they're crazy enough to put it on Facebook saying, hey, I'm going to go and shoot up a school.
That's what a red flag law would be for.
No, a red flag, that's just saying, hey, I'm going to go do this. You're going to do it.
No, that's
the red flag law is like, she says, I'm crazy. They could come and just take my guns and I have to prove myself innocent. That's what.
Yeah, bro, you're saying the same thing. If they're putting up things on Facebook that makes you think that they're going to, commit one of these events, then the red flag law is what you are saying. You would want somebody, just because they are taking drugs, to be able to have their guns taken away because they're mentally ill. And a little bit of come and take my guns that I don't own yet, sir. And he's again, unfortunately, arguing both points. That we should be able to take the government should be able to take the guns away from the people that I personally don't want to have them, but everybody else should have them. Now, there is a moral position with that, but who it is that you want to have guns in that equation is very, very important. And so if you're saying anybody who ingests a drug has enough of a mental issue to not be allowed to own a gun, well, that's pretty strict. That's pretty strict. Zippy said, if you are put in jail for a long time, you have to be fast on having your stuff picked up. Otherwise, the prison can sell it off. Well, yeah, I mean, they're not a storage facility. I mean, that's that. I mean, even if you go to like the library or something, they're not going to hold your shit forever. Be responsible for yourself. God damn it. Oh no, did my button go away?
Beta.
Oh yeah, I moved that button. Come on.
With the red flag law.
I mean, it depends on the
There's a big
state.
difference between
It depends on the state and it depends on the law as far as like the level of scrutiny and evidence and
Did you see the laws
procedure.
Polish just passed?
On what?
The red flag laws?
He
just passed
a
3 of
red
them.
flag one
He just
recently.
passed 3 of them. Was it
Well, no,
last
I
month?
think raising the age to 21, 3-day waiting period, and he also did banning of ghost guns. I don't know.
I thought one of them was a red
I
flag
thought they
law.
already had red flag laws. Maybe they strengthened them. I'm not sure.
That's possible.
But, yeah.
I got to look that one up for sure.
And that's a good example there of people having a conversation where they don't necessarily have all the answers. And instead of being like, well, what's your source for that? Just be like, okay, well, I'm fuzzy a little bit on these details, but you know, the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about is right here. And so, okay, you know, that's a little fuzzy, but we can still have this conversation based on the information that we know, instead of just taking a moral stance that, well, I know more than you, or you're presenting a position that you don't understand, therefore I win. That is what a lot of these women are trying to do. Melted Mind Media says he thinks if someone publicly states that they will do something with the guns, they can be taken. He's against if someone accuses you and they take your guns. Publicly, but again, so the what would be the mechanism of somebody publicly stating something, and after they say that, what is the process of them getting their guns taken away? Those are the red flag laws. That's exactly what they're saying. Now they go a little bit stronger with the second part. But the first part is still directly in the guidelines of what the red flag laws are for. Zibby said, but jails used to hold stuff, even a person's shotgun. That tells me the system has become very bad. Or maybe there's just a lot more people and they can't hold everybody's shit. Jails are not required to store your unusual objects. Rightfully so. You are allowed a small locker worth of space to sign in and get back upon release. Yeah, I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, think about how many prisoners there are. And especially if we're talking about jails where, you know, people are in and out. Not like people aren't in and out of prisons too, but you know what I mean? It's a slightly different thing. I mean, I don't understand I don't understand why that's a huge issue. Like, don't leave your shit at jail then. Leave it at home. Leave it at home. It's fine. Have your mom come pick it up. You'll be good. Zippy said, Matt Hoover, the CRS guy, I don't know what CRS means, at ATF got on fake charges, lost his wedding ring because they were a day late picking his stuff up. I'm sorry, that's robbery. No, it's not. If they said you have to be here within 60 days and you wait 3 months to get your wedding ring, then you couldn't have cared that much about it. I mean, this is not a metric of how well the system is. How long you leave your shit. No.
So we just had the moment of silence and everything. So getting back to what we were talking about,
Christine, sure you want to continue this? Sure. Okay, and you got credentials on their media?
He's like, are you sure you want to contribute to this? Did you get credentials and everything?
I'm not big time.
He hasn't asked my name. Okay,
Yeah.
keep going.
Okay, so as far as what we were talking about earlier, we talked about the assault weapons ban you alluded to from 94 to 2004. Do you think that's effective policy that we should put back in place?
I do. I think, as I said, it was done before, and it should be forever.
So why are we out here today?
We are out here to hopefully get some more laws or a law.
Oh man, I have a feeling. She is not going to be. I mean, she's going to be fun for us, but I don't think she's going to be very fun for NuanceBro. I got a feeling.
To help regulate guns in Colorado, in our country, make it harder. As I like to say, I'm not the one who wants to ban everything.
But I'm just at the ban everything protest. Okay.
I just want to regulate classes, waiting periods, background checks. I work as a crisis counselor, and I just lost a student on Thursday to gun violence.
Was it murder?
Again, we've only interviewed 4 different people? What has it been? We had this chick. 1, 2, 3. Then we had the thing with the person following. Then we went to the red. We only went on the people with the words on the screen. So this is only the 3rd woman we're talking to, and all three of them have made the emotional argument that this has somehow directly affected me, therefore it's more important. That is not how politics should be decided. You should be thinking about how these things affect society in the first place. Now, I totally understand how, some traumatic event might change your perspective. But for you to be basing your entire position on legislation on your personal experience is just a bad, that's not good. That's not going to work out. That's not going to work out. Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, right.
It was homicide by a police officer, but it's just
Person armed, unarmed?
no, unarmed, 14-year-old. So we're at this point where we're a really gun-happy society.
I would love to just know, what were the circumstances of that death? I'm sure it was just a little kid just sitting at home, maybe in his backyard, playing with a ball, throwing it up in the air and catching it, and throwing it up in the air. And before he could catch it, just out of nowhere, blown away, right? If it was probably because he was in a gang, and it was probably by a gang member. Maybe not, but likely it is.
And I would just hope people can question that. Be like, what's more important? Having...
Good question. What's more... Oh, okay, she's going to give us the options. All right, what's more important?
I mean, we can go into schools and stuff. I have 2 kids. And
okay, she's not. So what's more important? The right to defend ourselves? Or the fake feeling of safety? I'm going to go with the former.
Work in a school, but in the incident that's super fresh in my mind right now is, shoplifting 2 vapes worth a 14-year-old's life.
Bingo. There it is. There it is. So you were shoplifting. And I'm sure you got caught and you're just like, oh, I'm so sorry. Here, let me give it back. And he was like, no. No, of course it's not worth his life. Of course not. Which is why he shouldn't be. And again, I'm sure we would have heard about this if it was just some random thing like I was just saying. So I guarantee you that he was resisting and making it unsafe for the law-abiding citizen. So argument is that cops shouldn't have guns now? Yeah, like what? Make murder illegal. It's simple. Simple. That is, yep. I mean, that's as deep as it goes. That's as deep as it goes for them. They legitimately think that is a position that not only needs to be pushed, but that other people are against. That some people are like, make murder easier. I mean, there are, but they're murderers. So they're kind of on an island by themselves.
If there was no gun involved, he would just be arrested. But he ran and was shot in the back. So there's these things that are happening.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? Because I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.
Told you. Told you.
That I just want to question.
Yeah, I mean, if the facts are, as you say, like, they're probably going to prosecute that officer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, but without a gun, that wouldn't have happened. Or if people were more trained, including everybody, you're not going to just shoot.
Support disarming the police, for example?
I just support lots of training. I want more training,
Bingo!
Like tests, certifications, show you know how to use it under pressure.
Hey guys, editing bro here.
Yes. Thank you, NuanceBro. Shout out to NuanceBro. Shout out to NuanceBro. Did some research, came back with the receipts. Oh, man, I am so excited to hear what he has to say about this. But real quick, it says, I am white as F. I grew up being taught if you didn't do what a cop said, you could very possibly get shot.
Bingo.
No, you didn't. That's only black people. Stop lying. That's a black people thing. Only black people have to worry about that. Are you appropriating their culture?
How dare you?
I thought I hit the wrong button and I hit the right one and then I messed up my joke. But yeah, I mean, obviously, anybody who has responsible parents tells them that. End of story. End of story. Unwanted post said, Snap tackles the teenager to the ground and goes check a file. Well, you're getting ahead of me. You're getting ahead of me. Let's read it together.
Story that she was talking about with respect to this 14-year-old boy in the vape store robbery in Aurora, Colorado. And it's this 14-year-old Jordell Richardson. She said he was unarmed, but if we scroll down, Jordell also ran from police. According to the news release, police said the boy was armed with a gun, but details on what transpired between Jordell and the officer are scant. But I found a more recent news report from the local NBC affiliate, and here's what they say.
This morning, the chief told her and us new information about the situation. He says a sergeant in the gang unit spotted Jordell and others wearing hoodies and masks.
The what unit? The what unit? Well, wait. Did he say the spank unit? Or the Pang unit? I missed that one.
Says, this morning, the chief told her and us new information about the situation. He says a sergeant in the gang unit spotted Jordell.
The gang unit. Why would the gang unit be involved in a 14-year-old just taking a couple of vapes? That's all. That's all that happened. It was this poor young boy who had everything going for him. And all he wanted was to live a vape-free life. And he never carried a weapon, and he never did anything illegal, and then one day, they just blew him away. We called it. We knew it. We knew. Unwanted foe said Snap tackles the teenager to the ground, and Grushcheva fires a single shot after yelling that Richardson had a gun. It was later determined that Richardson had a pellet gun. So which one is Richardson? Was that the kid? So I mean, okay, so I mean, he didn't have a gun, but they don't know that, and he did have a pellet gun, and he did steal from the store, and he did run from the police. I'm not saying that it's okay that people are dead because of stuff like this. I'm not saying that that's okay that happens. What I'm saying is that that's not the responsibility of the gun. It's not the responsibility of law-abiding citizens, and it's not on the cop either. It's not on the cop either. He was doing his job exactly as he was supposed to.
Story that she was talking about with respect to this 14-year-old boy in the vape store robbery in Aurora, Colorado. And it's this 14-year-old Jordell Richardson. She said he was unarmed, but if we scroll down, Jordell also ran from police. According to the news release, police said the boy was armed with a gun, but details on...
Yeah, let's see what else it says. So we heard that. During a struggle to take him into custody, one officer fired their weapon, the news release said. In a conference after the shooting, the chief said that Richardson carried the gun in his waistband. He never pointed it at the clerk during the robbery, he said, but he made it clear that he had it. He made it clear that he had it. So, in a turn of events, it is actually precisely the type of gun violence that if the store owner had a gun, that this would have been prevented or could have been prevented. But you go in there showing that you got a gun in your waistband as a criminal. What do you want to happen? What do you expect to happen? Hey, we got Kelly Green in the building. Welcome to the party. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you.
What transpired between Jordell and the officer are scant. But I found a more recent news report from the local NBC affiliate, and here's what they say.
This morning, the chief told her and us new information about the situation.
Somebody set up a new heist.
He says a sergeant in the gang unit spotted Jordell and others wearing hoodies and masks near this mini-mart Thursday afternoon. The sergeant called for backup, but before more officers arrived, the chief says the group held up the store, stole some vape cartridges, then scattered. 2 officers chased Jordell down this alley. 1 tackled him to the ground.
You can see very quickly him and hear him yell, keep up, get your hand off the gun, words of that nature.
Within seconds, the chief says, the second officer shot the teenager. Police say Jordell had a semi-automatic weapon.
So there you have it. The boy was not unarmed like this
unarmed
crisis counselor said. She was incorrect. He was armed. He had a semi-automatic pistol on him.
Was she incorrect or did she lie? Because I'm pretty sure that you weren't expecting him to ask follow-up questions. We said, I just lost one of my children. Again, me, my, I. I lost another one of my children just the other day. So sad. So sad. If only we got rid of the guns, then he could rob people unimpeded. That's the world that I want to live in, right?
It appears, based on the statements from police, that he was reaching for the gun, and that's why the police shot him. So, again, always question these instances, even if people say these types of things. I mean, you have to understand how rare these types of unarmed shootings of Black individuals, especially young teens, actually is. So, you know, I was immediately skeptical when I heard this. That's why I looked into the case and didn't just...
And thank you for doing so. It is a little sus. It is a little sus that even though he put it on the screen, he didn't mention that it wasn't actually a gun that fires bullets. It was a pellet gun. I feel like that's an important detail, but also not. It's an important detail in terms of your own credibility, because now you are opening the door for somebody to come back on the other side. Well, it was only a pellet gun. And so if you present the story as, yes, it was a pellet gun, but of course he was using it in the, in the, what's the word? In the commission of a felony. And what are they? My brain's not working. The type of assault. The type, not assault with assault with a deadly weapon. I don't know, whatever it is. That's what happened. She lied.
Just take her word for it. Also, just one more update
Yeah.
on the Jordell Richardson story. There's been a press conference since I first started
Another
editing this video where they cover this incident, and they show Jordell Richardson as the one in the white hoodie presenting the firearm to the store clerk.
So
There's also body cam footage of the shooting, which has been released. You can see the gun being removed by the officer from Jordell.
All right, let's make that a little bigger. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm looking at. Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Here, shortly after being shot. You can see the handgun here, which
Oh,
was
yeah.
recovered from the scene. But it has been revealed that this was a replica of an
Hey!
HEK USP firearm. So this
Shout
was
out
a
to
BB
Nuance,
gun.
bro.
It was not a real firearm, but it looks exactly like the real thing and was certainly presented to be a real gun when he was holding up the store, which obviously.
Shout out. I'm glad that, because I called it. I called it out, and I want to be fair that, we're talking about like, oh, she lied. It was a gun, and it's a pellet gun. Again, like I said, when it comes to credibility, that matters. When it comes to the details of the story, that's rather inconsequential. But shout out to NuanceBro.
Obviously, in the moment, replica firearm is going to be treated like a real firearm. You can't take the chance with something like that. Now, I could obviously go into way more depth with this story, but that's not what this video is about. I'm going to link this press conference in the description box down below if you want to see it and take a look into the story yourself. But we're going to get a move on.
All right, activist, liar.
Yes, but even more so, because I think it's only a 10-month program right now for that. So, I mean,
I'm definitely with the idea that people should be training more. Everyone. I think that if you own a gun, you should be training as much as you can. And if you are a cop or in security or someone who carries a gun as part of your job, you should be doing way more training than is required. I think they should require more. Than they already do. But if you're only doing the minimum required work for in the training department, no bueno. Hey, we got Lars and Rune in the building with the $2 super sticker. Thank you. Oh, let me get them on screen here. Welcome to the party. All right, I'll pull it down just so we can see the show. Eat it. Yeah, thank you, Lars and Rune, and welcome to the party.
if you think about it, it took 3 years for me to get a master's in crisis counseling. I got
a PhD. I mean, I can never forget that is the mindset of so many of these people. I got a PhD. And for those of you who don't understand the reference, that was something that a woman said on the late, great Kevin Samuels, the Godfather, on his show. And, they were talking about, like, she called in because she wanted to find find a man, and she couldn't, and so on and so forth, just like all the others. And they were starting to get into, like, okay, well, what do you have to offer? And she spits out, I got a PhD. And this, like, in this, like, sludgy, ghetto, thoughty way. And he put it on the soundboard, and he got to use a lot of it because they all have it. Well, I got a master's. I got a this, that. Like, honey, we don't care. We don't care. Now, obviously, this is a different circumstance, so it is more relevant. But just thought it was a little bit funny. Shout out to Larry. Welcome to the party. Parent funded idiom. Don't know what that means, but welcome. Yes, R.I.P. the GOAT. Always shout out to Kevin Samuels. Always. Oh. I saw something come up. Hey! Thank you so much, Morty. Hey, Look, Indie Fam with the $2.99 super chat. Thank you, guys. Very, very, very much appreciated. Very, very much appreciated.
Okay with someone taking 3 years to learn how to hold a gun to protect our society. I think that if someone's invested in it, then education's okay. Like, no one should be scared of education.
So obviously the organization today, Here for the Kids, I mean, you see the signs there, ban guns and buy them back. They're calling for an executive order from the governor. It seems like you're not in support of that.
I'm supporting that. I'm more of like a realist right now. I want baby steps. We haven't seen any change. You know, we can go.
And why is that? Why haven't we seen any change? What is the change that you're asking for? Oh yeah, something needs to be done. Maybe that's why. Maybe if you come up with an actual solution that is legal, it would work. Who knows? Give it a try. Give it a try. Oba said, college education isn't an indication of intelligence or qualification these days. Absolutely not. And in many cases, certainly with undergrad, in many, many, many cases, it is the opposite. It is the opposite. These people are indoctrinated into this is the right thing because this said it in this book. And they lose the ability to think critically. And everything is an appeal to authority. That's why I mean, source. Yes, you want to have well-sourced information. But if you can't have a conversation without just trading sources back and forth, which is not a conversation, then you can't have a conversation. I mean, it's just that simple. Oba said double funding for mental health. I'm with that. Any Film said governments cannot buy guns back that they didn't sell. We need to stop using this terminology. Interesting. See, this is why I need you guys here. I'm stupid. I'm stupid when it comes to this stuff. That didn't even occur to me. The government didn't sell you the guns. So how can the government buy back the guns if they didn't sell them? It would just be a gun buy. I never thought of that. Thank you.
I did the March for Our Lives in DC, and that's been years now. And Sandy
I was there too.
Oh, you are? Yeah. So it's just been, I am like more right now, like that would be ideal, but I'm more a realist.
Did you fly in for this event?
No, I'm from Chicago, but I live here now.
Okay. So yeah, it seems, so that's your end goal is to ban the guns, buy them back ultimately, but so far you don't think that's realistic. Did you see the governor's response to that proposal?
I haven't.
So
Is that what we heard this morning? There was
4 out of 4. 4 out of 4. It's 5 in the morning on a Monday. It's 5 in the morning on a Monday. And you're out protesting something, and the governor gave you a direct response. A direct response. 4 out of 4. 4 out of 4 had no idea that the governor directly addressed them about this exact event. We're just out here. Now it's not just saying things. These people are out here just doing things. Just doing stuff. Just standing around. How long did it take to make that sign? It's pretty basic, but the letters fit. Maybe it's not a first try. You know how you get make, and then, murder's a longer word. Okay. And then you go back to more. Like, I got more space. And then you put M-O-R. I don't have enough space for the E. So we have no idea. This could be the third time she made that sign. Then she drove all the way out there. Had to wake up and I mean, I don't look like she's wearing a lot of makeup, but they don't walk out of the house without doing something. To get there at 5 in the morning. And you don't even know that the governor already addressed this. The governor already addressed this. That is mind-blowing. Unwanted Foe said we need to run a background check on the government before selling guns to them. I like that. I like that a lot. We need to run a background check on the government before selling guns to them. Bingo! You got it. Unfortunately, that check would show up with incidents like Waco, so they shouldn't be able to buy them. That's well said. Well said. Well said. Almost said, I'm convinced that a lot of these people don't even want change. They just want to be activists. Bingo. Yup.
But yeah, what is
so the
there?
governor put out multiple statements from his office to media outlets that asked about this. They said, we met with people from this organization. We talked to them and told them this is not going to happen. We're not going to do this because it's plainly unconstitutional. You can't ban guns in this country. So what are your thoughts on that response?
I mean, we can ban guns.
Well, it would violate the Second Amendment. It would be unconstitutional.
Well, it'd just be a new amendment, part of a society, and like
It's an amendment. Like you can't do it through executive order.
Yeah, well, but I mean, there's things that we can do. When that was written, it was such a different time, and the guns are used very differently than they were now. I mean, then
guns were used differently. How were guns? What was the use of guns that's so different from now? I'm very ignorant on this. There was a different use for guns. Was it what, a farming tool? Did you use it to measure? When you didn't have those thin beakers, you use the barrel of your gun in the laboratory. I mean, what are we talking about here?
So, like working with youth, I see so many guns. Guns are very easily accessible.
So don't you think that maybe biases your opinion? Maybe you're a little too close to the forest to see the trees? No? Okay.
To our kids, to anybody right now.
Before I could think about it.
Yeah, make it harder. So if it has to be ban them, then yeah, for sure. But right now, just make it harder. Just get guns.
And again, 4 for 4. 4 for 4, making emotional arguments based on themselves. Me, 4 for 4, not knowing what the governor said about them, and 4 for 4, not having any tangible solution. We have to do something. Something has to be done. We have to make it harder.
What?
That doesn't mean anything. That doesn't mean anything. Hand me my fire starting gun. Oh man. Hand me my fire starting gun, Jim Bob. We got the can opener. We got the fire starting gun. We got the beaker gun. The times were different. You needed those beakers. You needed that can opener. And back in the day, guns is all we had. Now we have technology. So it makes sense that we completely upend the foundation of our country, right? That makes sense. Unwanted Foe said maybe she means we used it more against British people than we do now. I mean, that would be true, I think. That would definitely be true. But that doesn't persuade me. Melty says, oh, these people have never went and got a gun. It's a lot harder to get a gun than you think. Yeah, I mean, before I saw what the actual process was, I assumed, because people talk about background checks and all this stuff all the time, I assumed that they weren't doing that. They're doing that. I think it was, I couldn't tell you. You guys would know better than me. There was, I want to say maybe like Tennessee or something that just did like constitutional carry, something along those lines. Help me out. You guys know what I'm talking about? What am I talking about? But other than that, every state, you have to go through a background check. There may or may not be a waiting period, and you may not qualify. Opa said she might mean that, but the Constitution is clear why citizens are entitled to carry guns to protect from a tyrannical government, and that applies as much today as it did then. Yep, if not more. I mean, the government is way bigger and way more powerful and way more tyrannical now than it was when it started.
Off the streets.
So obviously the goal is to make murder more difficult, reduce the overall violence in society. What do you think are like the top policy proposals that you think we could put into place to achieve that? I guess that are realistic.
I mean, realistic. Universal background checks across the country.
Done. Next.
Waiting periods.
Done. Next.
Classes. How to store guns. How to use guns.
I'm pretty sure they do have classes like that, correct? Never taken one, but I would imagine that there are gun classes on how to use guns.
Registration.
Nope.
Even regulating bullets. And then just, I'm really.
Wait, but they already do regulate bullets. You can only have 10 rounds in a magazine in a lot of states. So all of these things are already there. And they didn't do the thing that you wanted. So what else you got? What else you got?
Into education. So educate how to hold a gun, how to shoot, where to store it.
Hell no on that.
Know what's
definitely hell no on the registration. The history of putting people on lists is not so great. Hey, we got FTT in the building. Welcome. Said, where the white women at? I'm asking the same thing. Y'all need to bring the white women up in here. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about. FTT, welcome to the party. Melted Mind Media says, yes, and depending on the states is if you have a waiting period and if you need classes. Yep. So in a lot of places, they already have that. So she's already got the world that she wants, but she doesn't know it. It's sad. It's pathetic.
It's in your home. Know your kids. Get to know your teachers. Get to know the people with the kids. Like I said, I do lots of threat assessments. It's my main goal.
What's the legislation here of getting to know people around you more? Like what?
Not my main goal, but it's my part of my job. And just interviewing and talking to kids, understanding where they're coming from, what would happen if they did get a gun, just being educated about it instead of just letting anyone have a gun.
Again, who do you think is out there that is like, let's not educate anybody. Let's just throw guns at everybody and make sure nobody knows how to use them.
What?
You are fighting against a ghost. FTT says we need more laws. Are we being sarcastic or are we pro gun control? Mountain My Media said, and in a constitutional carry state, you don't need a concealed carry permit. Okay, so that doesn't have anything to do with the purchase. It just has to do with the carry. Is that correct? Fantastic Sum 41 album. Best one. Well, yeah, best one.
To tell kids when they're young, stop, don't touch, leave the area, tell an adult, something like the Eddie Eagle program.
Yeah, just more education surrounding guns. They're so easy to get.
This was something that
are they though?
The NRA actually did back in the Eddie Eagle program. Stop, don't touch.
I was just gonna say that. I was just gonna stop and say, isn't one of the big anti-gun talking points is the NRA. Isn't the NRA the organization that would have the most in terms of gun education? Shouldn't they be asking for funding and donating to the NRA? But they don't know anything about anything. So they just somebody said earlier, they saw a tweet that said, "Oh, we're protesting this at this time on this day," and then they just go. They have no idea what they're there for. They have no idea what is the event about. They have no idea what's been going on. They have no idea how effective or ineffective they're being. They're just there. They're just there. And I mean, isn't that the perfect explanation and description of your average person? Just there. Just there. Unwanted Foe said, more education surrounding guns, says someone with almost no education about guns. That sounds about right. Multimania said, a kid just seeing a gun might turn them into a bloodthirsty killer. Can't have that. Why is the NRA trash? Genuine question. Yeah, they're just out here. We out here.
Leave the area until an adult. That was something that they pushed.
If you spot a gun, just walk away. Go find an adult. Go tell him what you found. Guns shouldn't be left lying around. Yeah, stop. Don't touch. Leave the area. Tell an adult. Do it with me now. Stop. Don't touch. Leave the area. Tell an adult.
But I noticed all the policy proposals to reduce violence and murder that you were saying are all gun control related. Do you think there's anything outside? Because as far as what you've talked about, I mean, the safest states in the nation as far as homicide rates, it's like New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, a lot of those northeastern states that have.
Those sound like states that have a lot of guns. Am I wrong about that?
Very few gun laws relative to the rest of America, and they have the lowest homicide rates. If it's the guns, why do you think they have such a low homicide rate compared to the rest of the nation?
Maybe
It's not because of the guns. That's why. But let's see what her answer is.
their educational system. I don't know.
Do you think, for example, El Salvador, they're a country that's had a gun ban effectively, very.
Yeah, that should be the NRA needs to put out another Eddie the Eagle anti-groomer song. FTT with the answers. This is how we solve all the problems in America. That's a good one.
Extreme gun control for their population, and they had one of the highest homicide rates in the world, but they've been able to reduce it in recent years by over 90% because of criminal justice policies. What do you think about better enforcement, more police, more incarceration and prosecutions?
No, more education.
But even if that would save lives, you would be against that?
What would save lives is investing in our education.
He just said if. That means we're now getting out of the real world and we're going into this hypothetical. If it were to save lives, you're wearing a sign that says make murder more difficult. And so he's giving you a situation where murder would be more difficult. But no. It has to be the way that I said, even though I don't even have this well thought out at all. It has to be the way that I say it.
Paying teachers more, getting kids involved, getting parents involved, not locking more people up and more laws about that. It's honestly investing in our youth, in our country, getting involved earlier. Yeah.
If you saw the platitudes never stop. Nothing they say is like an actual thought. It's like there's a folder in their head of all of the talking points, and they just pull one out, and then another, and then another, and then another. They're not engaging with the questions. They just see, okay, what's the closest thing? It's like an algorithm, a very limited one in their brain. They hear something about police, or they hear something about guns, or they hear something about something that is outside of what this is how we fix guns. I'm like, no, it can't be. We just need to like talk to people and make it so much more difficult.
Evidence that showed, the things I was mentioning, like higher incarceration, prosecution, more police, that would reduce homicides by like half, for example. You still, well, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, in recent years, there's been like lots of push for criminal justice reform in certain places with certain DAs who put in policies of less incarceration, and we've seen increases in homicides and crime. So I'm saying, if you saw evidence to show that these policies would reduce homicides very significantly, would you support it?
No, I think we're missing pieces of the puzzle, though. And so while we can look at one particular aspect of the society and say, okay, so higher rates of, mass incarceration and stricter gun laws, we're also not looking at what are they doing to help, what's the preventative work around it. Like,
such as?
You're talking about education and funding from the bottom up. And so what we have instead with mass incarceration, Black and brown people, we know are at the highest rate of being incarcerated. And so that is not working for us. What we do know is when
that is not working for us, okay? It's not working for me. These people are insufferable.
Are more guns, there's going to be more gun deaths. That's just part of the deal. And so if we can figure,
if there's more cars, there's going to be more car deaths. That's just part of the deal. Okay, so you're in favor of banning cars on that logic then? Of course not. FTT said, so I just turned 60. Happy birthday! Happy 60th birthday. So just turned 60. We had handguns in our vehicles and shotguns hanging on our racks in our window at school. No one was ever shot or killed. Imagine that. Imagine that. A world where people can have guns and they're not just flippantly killing each other. Oh, wait, we already live in that world. Unless you're in, inner cities and you're in a gang, we already live in that world. And these ladies certainly live in that world.
Figure out how to limit access to guns. through registration, magazine limits, making bullets expensive, all these things. And we help lower SES communities where there is violent crimes going on.
Lower SES communities. We need to, abbreviate because we talk about SES all the time. Although my media says, as a brown person, what's it like to fear leaving your house because a cop may kill you? Well, it's hard. I do my best, and it's really scary, and that's why I just, I don't leave the house at all. I stay here, and I usually just cry, and when I can, I get out there and, have a strong showing, but unfortunately, it just doesn't seem to be changing anything.
Shut up!
That's y'all. That's them. Good question. I want to post that at least she said magazines instead of clips. Well, that's only because they have been limiting the capacity of magazines, and so they haven't been saying clips. Said making bullets expensive, it only takes one. I like that one.
The reason why there's violent crimes is because we are taking away funding. We can go on and on about the different the limitations that they have in these communities. And so when we build from the bottom up and we have education and we teach people and we make things accessible so they don't have to go out and find a gun and go rob or go do.
This is a bad idea. Whoever decided that you should get a bunch of liberal white women together to speak their minds about lower SES communities, that was a bad idea. Y'all heard it, right? It wasn't just me. There's no way it was just me. Oh, I think I went back a little far.
Or SES communities where there is violent crimes going on. The reason why there's violent crimes is because we are taking away funding. We can go on and on about the different the limitations that they have.
The black and brown people have limitations because they're black and brown.
That's crazy!
Although my media said, yeah, make it expensive. So rich people can be the only ones that can have fun.
Bingo!
White women aren't so dumb. So this is in Colorado. They are. They had a protest of. They tried to gather 25,000 white women at the governor's office at 5 a.m. on a Monday morning to get him to sign an executive order to ban all guns throughout the state. To ban all guns throughout the state, except, of course, for the police and National Guard and so on. And the governor specifically put out a statement that said, I'm with you. I've done a bunch of gun control stuff, but that's illegal. I don't have the power to do that. And out of the 4 women that have been interviewed in this video, all 4 of them had no clue. All 4 of them made emotional arguments as to why they're there. All 4 of them also had no idea what they were talking about. It's just copy after copy after copy after copy. But, I mean, I guess a Monday morning used well, right?
Haram!
Unwanted post said because only white women aren't working at 5 a.m. on Monday mornings. Oh, my God. They make it too easy. That's not a murder of crows. That's a murder of Karens.
Have in these communities. And so when we build from the bottom up and we have education and we teach people and we make things accessible so they don't have to go out and find a gun and go rob or go do things, then yeah, I do.
Again, black and brown people have to just, find a gun and go rob people because they're just, they're not white.
I think that will lower. But if we're looking at just one piece of the puzzle of saying, okay, mass incarceration or stricter gun laws, and then that's it.
And more police presence.
And more police presence is not going to work.
I don't think anyone's ever saying just one policy proposal is like the magic bullet, not the
except them. That one policy proposal being that executive order banning all guns and initiating a buyback. Nobody except them.
Yeah.
Magic bullet per se, but but it seems like you guys don't want to include that part at all.
No,
Even if
because
it
we
would-
already have a high incarceration rate. We already have high limit or a high sentence.
If you have more guns, you're going to have more deaths. It just comes with the deal. If you have more asks, it's going to come with more nuances and more yeah, you know, just ancillary effects. You can't talk about the you know, having guns, banning guns, making laws around guns, and not talking about incarceration. They are hand in hand. That is the same conversation. Got data? Plenty.
Sentencing for people with guns.
Nothing.
Isn't it relative? Like, if we have a high level of criminality, and homicide in the country, shouldn't the incarceration rate be higher? Because we necessarily have
one of the highest incarceration rates in the entire world.
That was not the question. Stop trying to talk about what you want to talk about all the time and listen. Stop trying to win an argument and just have the conversation. He asked you a direct and simple question, and you just glossed over it and moved on to your next point. You heard incarceration, and so instead of engaging with that, you just, okay, that's a buzzword. Where do I go? I hear incarceration, and oh, we have the highest incarceration rates. Do we have the highest crime rates? Well, then that makes perfect sense. Wanted Foe said, if you're going to have more white liberal women, you're going to have more manager complaints. That's facts. Jazz hands. I love the jazz hands. I'm, you know, very animated. Why, you don't like it?
Compared to other countries. And if we look at quote unquote first world countries who don't have this problem, who don't have a mass shooting problem, don't have a gun violence problem,
they also don't have a Second Amendment.
The number one killer of kids isn't guns. And
yeah, it's knives and acid, as we talked about earlier.
And so when you look at that, though, they are building from the top up. They also have a very low incarceration rate. And there's not this infatuation and this culture around guns and the Second Amendment. And so if I am one to, well, I don't
assume you're talking about countries that don't have similar like demographics as we do here in the United States.
No, we do have similar demographics.
Like what are some examples?
Please.
If you look at anybody in Western Europe.
They have similar demographics, like they have similar black and brown populations over there.
I can't say exactly. No.
They have way more white people.
So what are we getting at? Are we thinking that it's the black people that are causing the problems with?
Well, if you look at
whoa, holy projection, Batman, holy projection. You don't understand what's going on. So your first assumption is that so we're saying that, as she is saying, all the black people, as she is saying, is causing all the problems.
What?
That's crazy!
More white people.
So what are we getting at? Are we thinking that it's the black people that are causing the problems with?
Well, if you look at the homicide rate, it's very disproportionately black.
Do you understand why?
Well, I understand the reasons, but I'm saying they don't have like that history with slavery and oppression with those populations. They don't have those populations there.
Exactly.
So I'm saying
we mean exactly.
So it's not very like it's apples to oranges.
That's true in some ways, and in other ways, I do think that because of our gun culture and our infatuation that we have here.
Notice how it's the womanese. It's very subtle. If you don't get it, if you're not paying attention to it, you're gonna miss it. Yeah, in some ways, but then I changed the subject. You just got me cornered on a claim that I made, that yes, they are in fact similar demographics, and then that was proven to be not true, and you agreed. Well, in some ways, but also. Now, again, you would probably be very frustrated watching this if you thought that NuanceBro's point was to convince any of these people to change their mind. But if you understand that this conversation is for us to see, it's not for those women. It's for us to understand, oh, the people who are against this stuff have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. And, I mean... shout out to NuanceBro. I think that is coming through loud and clear.
Here about guns. I heard you talking about the amendments and that what would that look to ratify. We've ratified other amendments before. Women were just given the right to vote not even 100 years ago. We had to ratify an amendment in order to do so.
But she's going to say, we need to get rid of that. I'll be like, I mean...
slavery
just kidding.
was. And so the idea that we can't ratify or adjust the Second Amendment I call BS to that. Do I think it's going to happen? Is our country ready for it? No. So do I think Governor Polis is going to come out here and say, that's right, we're going to ban guns? Absolutely no. But when we have extremists on the right that are fighting tooth and nail for their rights to own guns and AR-15s and magazines without any limits.
How dare you fight for your own rights? How dare you? What a horrible thing. It's so extreme to fight for the rights that you already have when people are trying to take them away. How terrible. Brain dead. Melted Mind Media said, I like how she doesn't deny it. She whispers it and looks around to make sure she's not stabbed in the back by her fellow Karens. They all know. They all know to some extent that they don't really know. Like, just like to own guns and AR-15s. What? Ma'am, do you know what an AR-15 is? It's a gun. It's not even a very powerful gun. Yeah, right? That would be pretty dope. That'd be pretty dope. Just have the, what are the, those belt? Like, is that what they're called? You know, in the movies when they have like the chopper one, and it's just like feeding the belt in. Oh, that's a good look. That's a good look.
We need to fight extremism with extremism. And so I do think that this is why we're all out here. And
Whoa! We need to fight people trying to maintain the rights that they already have with extremism. They're saying the quiet part out loud. They're telling you that they are looking and feel justified to use extreme tactics against you because you agree with the laws that are already on the books and have been since day one of this nation. You deserve to be met with extremist tactics. That's what she just said.
AR-15s and magazines without any limits. We need to fight extremism with extremism. And so I do think that this is why we're all out here. And so while the majority of us do, I think the majority of us at one point believed in some sort of gun reform. I was a believer in the Second Amendment. I believed that people deserved to have their right to have their gun for whatever they needed, whether it was protection.
And then?
Or hunting or whatnot. I have family members who have that. But we have too much money and lobbyists fighting over here on the right and saying that are just like, you know, that don't believe in any sort of gun reform.
Okay, I thought she was going to say, well, we have too much money to be doing this, that. And they were like, of course, you're a rich, white, liberal, elite woman with, you know, fire with fire. We all get burned. And unfortunately, like, there are times, there absolutely are times when the only option is to fight fire with fire. But we're literally not fighting with fire. And they're saying we're going to react to you not fighting with fire with fire. That should get her put on some kind of list. That's terrifying. That's terrifying. Unwanted Foe said, what pro 2A extremism is she even thinking she has seen? Wanting to keep your guns. Semantic obfuscation. Semantic obfuscation. If this is your first time here and your first time hearing this phrase semantic obfuscation, you know, many of you it's not, but this is one of the two main reasons that political discourse has fallen to shit. One is dogmatic thinking, whether you believe in a sky daddy or you believe a male can transform into a female. That is dogmatic thinking. And not allowing your opinions to be challenged or questioned. Then you add what she just did. Semantic obfuscation. She hasn't seen any extremism. She just doesn't like the other side of the argument. So she's calling it extremism so that she can say, well, we're going to fight extremism with our own extremism. And her own extremism is going to actually be objectively extreme. Whereas saying, I am in favor of the Constitution. That is what she is calling extreme. That's probably the best example of semantic obfuscation I've seen all year. All year.
When 80% of our country actually do. They want some sort of reform, but we have too much money over here on the right saying, don't touch our guns, don't touch our guns. And babies are dying, people are dying, kids are dying. And so, yeah, I will say I'm ready to ban guns.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. Awesome.
Yeah, the threat of gun violence really gave me.
All right, so I think we got two more. We are hitting the 2.5 hour mark. So if you would like the party to keep on raging, you know how to do it.
A lot of doubt about moving back to the U.S. because I felt very safe bringing my kids to school every day in the Netherlands. I didn't feel scared going to the grocery store.
5 for 5. 5 for 5. I, me, my. I felt scared. And I didn't feel scared. Well, did that actually comport with the reality? Was it actually any safer? Probably not. And if it was, I'm sure it had way more factors than just no guns, safe, guns, not safe. But I feel a certain way, so we need to change the Constitution of America.
And when we would come visit my parents here in Colorado, every time there was multiple shootings, even if we were here for 2 weeks. And if my dad wanted to take my 4-year-old to the grocery store with him, I would get like a sinking feeling in my stomach.
Was your kid scared? Was your dad scared? That sounds like a you problem, honey.
But I decided to move here because I don't want to let gun violence control my life, and I want.
Oh, you're so brave! You're so brave! Moving to Colorado to escape gun violence, or despite the gun violence. Colorado. So dangerous. So dangerous.
Be with my family, but I don't want to accept this as normal because it's not. The U.S. is the only country that has this problem. They're not the only country that has mental illness or racism or, all these other problems we have. The big difference.
So we can go through the same exact arguments about how different countries are different than this country. But, I mean, it's the same thing we've heard from all the other females.
The difference is that America has guns. We have.
And a lot more people, and a lot more culture, and a lot more shit going on.
Anybody can access guns. Anybody can access assault weapons.
Good. That's how it should be.
And that's the thing that needs to change, and it's urgent. It's an emergency. And yeah, my kid's going to kindergarten in the fall, and I wish we could end this right now.
I wish.
I just want to confirm because I walked. Is it recording? Okay, because it was a kind of a weird. It's
If I was her, I'd be like, bro, you're not gonna ask if it's recording before I'm done talking? I would have been pissed, but just a little, Unwanted Foe said, where should I move with my young child? Oh yeah, somewhere with so much gun violence where I'm afraid to even go to the grocery store. I mean, you couldn't have been that scared. You're out just in the world, so it can't be that bad. It's all just bullshit. It's all just bullshit. Melty says she didn't even know what an assault weapon is. Most people don't. Most people don't.
It's fine. Okay. So when you say this is the only America has this problem, what do you mean? Like, which problem in particular do you mean?
Good question.
A gun epidemic when we have
gun violence.
Gun violence that we've had hundreds of mass shootings, and we're not even halfway through the year.
Define a mass shooting. That's the systemic semantic obfuscation, where they will measure things in a certain way. So you can say that there's all these mass shootings. And we know that when we say the phrase mass shooting, we're thinking of a school, or we're thinking of something like Las Vegas, or something like the, what was that? I think it was the Pulse Club in Orlando, or something like that. There's been none of those this year. Well, Uvalde was, there's been one, right? There's been one, which is, definitely bad, But it's not in the same way. The unarmed black man shot by the police is a horrible thing. It's just not a very prevalent problem. But they can use the semantic obfuscation of the lexical definition of mass shooting to talk about how we're not even halfway through the year. There's been hundreds of events. If there had been hundreds of school shootings, then the conversation would be very different. But that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. Not that it never happens, but I'm saying hundreds of school shootings in 1 year. Melton My Media said, Ukraine doesn't have that problem right now.
Bingo.
You don't see this happening in other countries. And
I saw a great. I saw a funny ass TikTok about this. Let me see if I can find it.
Well, as far as like gun violence, we do see that happen just south of the border in Mexico. They have like a higher homicide rate than we do when it comes to a lot of this stuff. You see it Jamaica, Nigeria, a lot of the Central American countries where the violence is so bad they actually flee to America to escape a lot of it. It's for economic reasons as well. But surely we see these types of gun violence problems in other parts of the world.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We do. But I think when American politicians think about their peer nations and we talk about America being a country of freedom and liberty, I don't think this is really a place where you're living freely if you have to live in fear of gun.
I think it's not a place you're living freely if you have to live in fear of your guns being taken away. See how that works? Hey, we got rainbows are made by God in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. So gun violence happens in other countries all the time. Of course it does. Of course it does. Of course. Welcome to the party. Good to see you. Hey, we got Nick in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Yes, definitely your kind of conversation. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Rainbow says she should move to Nigeria, Africa. I bet she'd want a gun or people protecting her with guns. Bro, she wants people with guns protecting her in Colorado. You think you think if something was going on in a 2-block radius of anywhere that she is, that she wouldn't call the police? Why would she call the police? Because they have guns. You know, it'd be a lot faster if she had her own.
Violence, and we see mass shootings happening every day in places that should be safe places.
So, I mean, this protest today, they called on, I believe, 25,000 plus white women to come out here to, support this cause, to ban guns, buy them back, talk about the fear of living, in fear of gun violence in this country. Do you know what the homicide rate is for white women in the United States?
No, I don't.
I think it's actually like fairly comparable to Europe. It's actually like on par relatively. It seems like most of the gun violence is directed towards minority communities. So Black and brown people typically are the ones that are killed at these high rates, that are extremely high and drive the average of the nation a lot higher. What are your thoughts on that?
What?
I'm not an expert. I don't have a comment on that.
Sure. So you talked about these like European nations and things like that. Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's because of the gun laws over there? Or do you think there's other aspects that are contributing to lower levels of violence and homicide over there?
I think the guns are the biggest factor. But yeah, I think there's a long list of things that we could do better to support people here with.
Such as there's something we could do. Something. That's another 5 for 5. 5 women we've spoken to, and 5 of them on multiple different accounts have all done the same thing. Big shout out to Unwanted Foe for gifting a membership to Ziggs. Didn't even know you were there, Ziggs. Say hello. Morty is right here. Here's what I'm gonna do. He's sleeping by my foot warmer, so I'm gonna leave this right here for him. Thank you so much. Very, very, very much appreciated. I'm gonna add you to the banner as well. Very much appreciate you, brother. Thank you. Rainbow is saying you can literally see her belief system breaking down. Yeah. Thank you again, Unwanted Foe.
Mental health and healthcare and cost of living and lots of different things to help people live a more comfortable and safe life.
So the states in the United States that have some of the lowest homicide rates that I think are in the top 5, like New Hampshire, Vermont, and Maine, they have some of the lowest homicide rates in the country, but they have like very few gun laws. They're actually very liberal on gun laws. Why do you think they have some of the lowest homicide rates despite having virtually no gun control?
I'm not sure.
Of course you're not.
Yeah.
Do you think it's like perhaps like the populations that are, because like what we talked about earlier, the certain populations that are getting killed disproportionately and things like that?
Perhaps there's more wealth and more support for people living in those areas. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert there.
Yeah, she's just blathering on about shit she doesn't know. But Nick, that's a fantastic point here. I trust my fellow Americans with guns much more than I trust the government to protect me.
Bingo!
It's that simple. It's that simple. It really is.
Yeah, like in New York City, for example, when we talk, because some people say like poverty drives crime and things like that. When we look in New York City, Asians have a higher poverty rate than blacks, for example, but their homicide rate, I think, is still even like lower than white people, Asians are. But if you add up blacks and Hispanics, it's like 97% of shootings in New York City are black.
All right, let's take a look at this. So this is saying, what is it saying in the thing? Oh, shootings. Okay. So it says shooting victims are most frequently black, 72%, or Hispanic, 24%. White victims account for an additional 1.9% of all shooting victims, while Asian Pacific Islander victims account for 1.2% of all victims. The race and ethnicity of known shooting suspects is most frequently black at 68%. Hispanic suspects accounted for an additional 28% of all suspects. Asian, 1.9. White, 1.7. Shooting arrest population is similar. Black, 65. Hispanic, 31. Asian, white, 2.2. Asian, 1.6. So the point being, if you commit more crime, you're going to have higher numbers of arrests and shootings and stuff like that. Again, just that simple. It's not complicated. You just have to understand what you are talking about. And maybe more importantly, you have to understand when you don't understand what you're talking about.
Hispanics, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm not an expert on that, and I don't want to get into a debate on that. That's not what I'm here for. I would recommend reading the book. I would recommend reading the book Cast to talk about a lot of the racial issues and things that have caused underlying problems. So I think that book articulates probably a lot of the answers to what you're looking for. I'm not an expert, so I don't want to try to say something and misquote, but I would just recommend
Too late
referencing
for that.
book.
And shout out to Melted Mind Media here. We have an awesome Mafia game going on in the Discord server. It is surprisingly addictive, very simple text-based game, but you make money, you build stuff, and I thought it would be something like that, you would expect your uncle to be playing on Facebook, but it's actually a lot of fun. So among many other reasons, come and join the Discord. It is a lot of fun, and that's where we're headed right after this for the after party.
And you could probably find answers to a lot of the systemic racism problems we have that are underlying drivers of a lot of the issues we have, including the gun violence epidemic and including higher rates of gun violence in different populations.
Do you think, like, if we're trying to solve the problem of violence here, like, do you think it's important to educate ourselves on these various different aspects if we want to fix the problem?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're all, underlying issues. I think there's a lot of areas in our society where we need to support different communities and help kind of make up for some of the systemic underlying problems that are hurting communities still to this day that come from, the very...
Such as which problems? How do you solve them? All you're saying is, hey, there's stuff that I don't like. Excuse me. Hey, excuse me. There's a thing I don't like. Hey, excuse me. Hey.
Shut up!
Very foundation of our country.
So, why are we out here today? Anyone?
Well, we're out here because Here for the Kids organized this event. The founders are women of color, and they've specifically asked white women to...
Yo! Oh my God. Do you see what I see? 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 Did you see it? Did you see it? Did you see it? Oh my God. Leaning into it. I will give her credit because this is funny. Her sign says, let's go full Karen on the gun industry. That is funny and self-aware. Hey, credit where credit is due.
Come out to petition Governor Polis to ban guns and protect our kids.
Except he already said he's not going to do that, and it won't protect your kids.
Why white women in particular?
We hold a lot of privilege. We're more likely to be safe out here protesting. It's also time that we put some skin in the game with changing society. Black women, Black people in general, people of color, people with disabilities.
It's just really disgusting to me, the way that these white liberals talk about other groups of people as if they are the white saviors, that without them, we are just destined for solitude and poverty and hell and violence. If not for the white women, we would be screwed. That's not how it works. I know you think you're the most important thing in the world. I know you think that you're not. You played yourself. Nick says, is it just me? Nick says, is it just me, or do these people not understand what their argument is any more than I do? Well, yeah, no, they definitely don't understand it. Basically, like I said, their argument is there's something that I don't like, and somebody should fix it. That's it.
Have come out and done sit-ins to demand change. And
what kind of change? Change how? A change of clothes?
It's more than time that we have our turn.
And just from a logistics
turn for what?
Perspective, I mean, 5 a.m. on a Monday, I don't feel like it's the best way to increase turnout as to like put maximum pressure. Why 5 a.m. on a Monday, do you think?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. You'd think you would have thought about that before and had an answer in case anybody asked, why are we doing this at 5 in the morning? We could definitely do this at 8. Would it hurt our message to sleep in until 8 a.m. on a Monday?
I understood was that this was in terms of weather, and then also just logistically, like teachers are really affected by gun violence. School is out, so more people would be available to be out here.
If school is out, then I think that means, and I'm not a teacher, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that means that they're also not in school later in the day. The fuck are you talking about?
Here, that was some of my thinking.
Going up.
Sure.
We're lucky that we're local. We all met in our little town of Lafayette at 4:15 this morning, but so many people here have flown in from across the country and even internationally. So for us,
what a waste of time and money.
Was like a no-brainer. We had to be here, but other folks have really made significant investment in time and money to be here.
Hey, shout out to her. She is the first woman to speak about anyone other than herself outside of the blacks or the poor people or the everything else is about me. Not only is she funny with her sign, but she's actually looking out and looking at other people. And of course, she's the oldest woman that has been interviewed. I'll let you do with that what you think is appropriate.
And what are we trying to achieve today?
I don't know.
We want our kids to be safe going to school.
Again, just okay. And how is the government relevant in that specifically?
Going to the movies. I've been a public school educator for more than 20 years. Like, it's enough is enough to rely on our teachers to continue to work in an environment that is increasingly dangerous, and ask us to do way more beyond what we are really trained to do.
You know, it would make it a lot less dangerous. People with guns at the school. That would make it significantly, dare I say, infinitely safer.
Was there a particular policy proposal that we're pushing for today?
Yeah, we
ban all
wanna ban
guns.
We don't want so many guns in our country and folks to have such easy access to guns that endanger our children and our safety.
So ban all guns. I believe the sign says ban all guns, buy them back via executive order. You guys are asking Governor Jared Polis of Colorado to ban them via executive order. He's actually responded to this. Have you guys seen his response to this? So he's put out this office has put out multiple statements to various media outlets saying he's met with organizers and that this is plainly unconstitutional and there's no way he's going to do it. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm going to let see.
Sure. Anybody else?
I'm gonna let somebody else take that because that just popped my balloon, and I'm not ready for that.
We've needed to change the Constitution and amend it and help evolve it over the years. And so what side of history does Governor Polis want to be on?
Oh, what side of history? Oh, snap, she just laid the smackdown. Oh, what side of history? So tired of this same bullshit. The same bullshit. Oh
It is our
unless you guys keep it going, we're gonna.
Constitution is to protect us, and I think it's his moral obligation to protect our kids.
That would. So you're talking about changing the Constitution by ratifying it, going through that process, but that would go against this goal of calling for him to do it via executive order. You would have to go through the ratification process first, right?
Well, not first, because I think there's precedent for a change to come through this direction, and then the ratification.
So what's the precedent for, like, I guess, violating the Constitution first through executive order, banning all guns, and then going through an amendment process?
Okay, hold up. We need a straw poll real quick, and I need everybody to respond. Everyone. So we're going to be talking about this person here. Okay? Take a good look. And when you have your answer, you just, whatever you think. Whatever you think. All right? Take a good look. Take a good look. Are we ready? Are we ready? All right. Poll is up. Poll is up. Take another good look and give your answer.
Public health crisis. So in order to save the kids, you'd have to do something radical. And yeah, you're asking a good question about what the precedent is, but when there are national emergencies, we have taken action that maybe people would challenge as constitutional, but in the big picture, it's a safety issue and crisis.
So during health emergencies, you can suspend the Constitution? Is that?
I don't want to say suspend the Constitution,
but that's what I'm going to say anyway. I don't want to say that because it sounds bad, but I'm just going to find a way to switch the words around, aka semantic obfuscation, to say, actually, yeah.
Put public safety ahead of the changes that will take a lot of time. Does that make sense? Yeah. So
does that
it's
make
like
sense?
action.
Am I making sense here? I know I'm giving you a big brain take, and it's very complex and complicated, but we want our children to be safe. We want our children to be safe at the movies and the grocery store and when they go to school and when they're at their grandpa's house and when they're at the ice cream parlor. Jesus.
Jesus fucking Christ. And then the steps in order to make it constitutional can come. So I'm not asking to go against the Constitution, but
yes, you are.
Take action in an emergency.
Can I help you?
So basically, you're asking to go against the Constitution. Semantic obfuscation. Quick side note, if you're a part of the family, we just started a new counterfeiting heist, so make sure you get in on that. And if this sounds like fun, I'm telling you, it is way more fun than it even sounds. So if it sounds fun, just, hit up the Discord and we'll get you started, especially while we're in the voice channel. It'll be very easy to explain it to you. join on up. Those of you who are already in the Discord community, just go to the Mafiaverse channel and you can get started.
Yeah, I'm just listening.
Okay, cool. Okay. So as far as like policy proposals, because the governor has said the executive order is not happening, what realistic policy proposals are we supporting today?
No, this is it.
To ban.
This is the.
But he said he's not going to do it.
Well, then we'll be here till he does.
Do you sincerely believe Governor Polis is going to sign the executive order to ban guns and buy them back?
Well, what is the option? What is the option? To continue to have our children murdered in the streets?
No, the option is to go home, read a fucking book, understand what the issue actually is, and come up with a reasonable solution, and then bring that back to the governor. That is the other option. Just saying, oh, this is a bad thing. Something needs to be done. We need to do something. You give the something. And this is advice for life. Whenever you're asking for someone for something, make it easy. Make it easy for them. I mean, just off the top of my head, if you I don't have a good one off the top of my head, but let's say you want somebody to help you move, right? And instead of saying, hey, like so let's say they agree to help you move, instead of just waiting till they get there and be like, all right, yo, what do you think we should do? Like, where do you think we should start? What? Like, yo, it's your shit. I'm just here to move boxes. I guarantee you, number one, they'll stay longer and help you. And number two, they will feel a lot better about it. If you're like, all right, bro, I got this. I thank you so much for helping. I got this set up. I just need you to do that, and that. Bring those out, and then it'll be good. Make it easy for people to help you. And this example is a friend. You are now talking about the U.S. government. And you don't have any game plan. And you expect them to give a shit about you. If that's not the most white liberal woman thing I've ever heard, I don't know what is.
I guess the other option would be like, gun control proposals that have been pushed in various other states and locales and other countries.
But they're not working for us. So here in Colorado, we are setting a new paradigm. There's no more. There's no more bargaining. This is what we want. This is what we want for our kids.
So obviously the goal is to reduce overall, I'm trying to speak louder so everyone can hear. Obviously the goal is to reduce overall violence, and we want to lower that as much as possible. Do you think guns are the best way to do that? Or if there were other policy proposals with evidence to show?
100% guns are the problem. 1,000%.
What do you feel like is the evidence for that?
Well, the evidence is that people are buying weapons that are, war weapons that are brought into.
Of course people are not buying war weapons. What exactly is a war weapon, ma'am? Yeah, those are not being purchased by average people.
But that's not like a statistic or study.
That was
like,
just
I'm
off the
talking
top
about
of my
what's the
head.
actual evidence to show.
The actual evidence to show more children.
26 children in Uvalde a year ago killed. That's pretty hard evidence.
No, that's a pretty hard singular anecdote. So it's pretty weak. It's pretty soft evidence. It's a great anecdote to contribute to the evidence, but it's not hard evidence.
More children. So the statistic is that more children die by gun violence than anything else. So gun violence today, statistically, is the number one killer of children. Number one.
So
Here we go again.
That's if you exclude abortion and exclude infants as well.
What does abortion have to do with that?
Well, some people, if you view it as
what does abortion have to do with death? Sorry, I forgot we were talking to liberal white women.
Life, which I know a lot of people don't view that as a life.
No. This is okay. So you're talking about sanctioning the life of an unborn child and not even giving a crap about the child that's already
but even
alive.
if you exclude that, if you have to exclude infants,
not it,
because
though.
if you include infants, we're talking about like, problems when the child's born and things like that, or, congenital like heart problems. Like if you include them, then it's not gun violence is the top. It has to be between the ages of 1 and like 19 or something.
So the major cause of death, school-age children,
Nope.
is gun violence. Yes.
Nope.
Yes.
Nope.
Go do your homework.
Well, maybe
go do your homework. You better go do your homework. I've got a source. I went to imright.com and they said that even though I came up with this stat before you had any pushback and changed my mind about it, that I did my homework.
What?
Like if you include like 1 through 12-year-olds, it's not the first
I'm not
cause.
including 1 through 12.
I don't
In
think that
school-age children, the number one cause of death of school-age children, I'm not talking 6 months, 8 months, 12 months, 2 years
What
old.
about like 1 through 12? Like you think it's
1 through 12 is not a school age.
what about 6 through 12?
Okay, 6 through 12.
It's not the number one cause.
Do your homework.
Yeah,
Well, it's,
yes,
it's 1 through
and
17.
another
Need a break
one.
for a second.
Yeah,
it's not so I don't think that this is going to be helpful to what we're doing here today.
Yeah, this is
we
a
really
little bit
want to.
adversarial.
We would
I got a secret to share with you, honey. Ain't nothing that you're doing is going to be helpful to what you're doing here today. Nothing.
like to keep a really calm environment, and these debate type of questions are not going to be helpful to anybody.
I'm not trying
So
to.
we are going to respectfully ask that you don't be asking these types of questions, and if you would.
And I'm going to respectfully decline and exercise my right before you take them away.
Well, if you choose to continue to do so, we'll just continue to let the people know that you're choosing to interview, that that's what you are doing here.
That we're just going to follow you around and harass you and shut you down and censor you in a public space while we're here protesting and trying to take your rights away? Come on, lady. Come on, lady. Yeah, right? You're destroying our argument, so it's not helpful.
How dare you?
Wanted fellow. So the only one who isn't calm is the angry old bat who is upset she was wrong. And she noticed that. Notice how the conversation was going fine, and Big Red over here was nowhere to be found. Then she saw her sister in whatever, her sister in crime, in a little bit of trouble. She's like, I better get in there. And actually, I don't think what you're doing is helpful to our cause today. So I'm gonna respectfully ask you that you don't do what I don't want you to do. And I'm white and I'm liberal and I'm a woman. So if you don't respect my wishes, then that makes you a bigot. That's the thinking. Oh no, mommy lick. Mommy lick. Oh, no.
Okay, so that's completely up to you. If you continue to do that, we're just going to inform everyone that seems to be your purpose here, is to kind of debate these questions. None of us here are experts on the statistics. We're just showing our support for something that we care about, right?
Yeah, I wasn't trying to be adversarial or anything.
Sure, but it's something
it kinda, like when you
sure, but don't let him talk, because you want to keep everything calm, right? So you want to jut in on when you're speaking to somebody. And it's so telling. You absolutely should want people like NuanceBro who are there in opposition to your message, who are not being loud and antagonistic. He is simply asking questions. If you can't answer the questions about the thing that you're out protesting at 5 a.m. on a Monday, then maybe you shouldn't be protesting it. Maybe it's time to go home.
It gets us.
I was just saying, like, I'm not personally counting that or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, some people would say that, but then I'm saying you have to also have to exclude infants. So it has to be between, you start the age
at 1.
And
what I'm saying is we're not here to debate that, and it's not really an appropriate question to be
Our
asked.
children are in danger. That is clearly a fact. Our teachers are in danger. And that's that. Sure. We don't need to.
That's that. I have a feeling, and I think a thing, and I believe a thing, and that's that. We hit them both. I'm sorry that it had to be our orange friend, but we hit them both. We got a whole bunch of semantic obfuscation in this one, and Now we have the dogma. I believe our children are in danger, therefore I am right. That's that. I believe a man can transform into a woman, and that's that. I believe that everything in our universe was brought here by a man that I have no proof exists and I don't know anything about. But I believe it, so that's that.
Be experts on the amendments to the Constitution. We're here to show our support.
Oh, yeah, I'm not trying to. I was trying to get more into like the policy of reducing overall violence and homicides and things like that.
How dare you? You are coming to an anti-gun protest to talk about how to get less violence?
What?
There's a time and a place, bro. There's a time and a place.
Speak with the organizers of the event because they are experts.
Oh, I'd love to.
Well versed.
Are they available? Is like Sarah?
Organizers are here. They would be near the Capitol.
Okay.
Do you want? I could walk with you, and we could try to find them.
I was just gonna say, I was like, who wants to bet that they didn't take me to anyone that would speak with me? Surprise, surprise. She's like, well, maybe you should speak with the what she call the organizers. And he's like, oh yeah, totally. Because I'm actually here in good faith, trying to understand what your position is. Unlike you, who just has your position, and that's that. We are not the same. Is that it? Like that.
All right, guys, we've been here for a couple hours now. Far from 25,000 plus white women here, so I don't have to sell my gun to the buyback. But I'd say it's probably
exactly. This was the story of the entire stream. Woman A brings up gun deaths being number one. Guy, well, no, it's XYZ. Woman B, we aren't here to debate.
What?
How do you expect to get your positions, your desires, your goals met? You legitimately think that you can just go and stand outside of a building and that in and of itself is enough to change the Constitution? Your history teachers should be fired. I don't understand how they got there. Where are all the... I mean, I really don't want to make this a identity politics thing. I'm sure there are white women, there's white liberal women out there who understand that this is not a good way to do this. So either they were just like, oh shit, we're not touching that. You guys go and do whatever. Or they're like, oh yeah, that's totally gonna be great. You go and do that. Yo, that ain't gonna do shit. That ain't gonna do shit. I mean, women, liberalism, it's all there served up neatly in a package. That is what being liberal these days is all about. Everything that we just saw. A lack of integrity, a lack of knowledge, an overabundance of confidence, damn near arrogance, semantic obfuscation, and dogmatic thinking. Oprah said Democrat policy is almost entirely feelings-based. Of course, they think these methods are effective because they think these are effective methods because they have been. What? Of course, they think these methods are effective because they have. Well, then they are effective, but they haven't been. Where have these methods been effective? What, you mean like on Twitter of people just like yelling about stuff? I guess you're right if that's what you mean. But touch some grass, people. Touch some grass, because the real world is not Twitter. Democrats have been effective at appealing to emotions to make policy. Gotcha. But I mean, you at least have to appeal to emotions. You can't just stand there. So I mean, that's definitely been effective. But just standing around and not engaging in anything has only been effective on Twitter. And because it's been so effective on Twitter, then people are afraid to actually engage with it off of Twitter. But people don't actually think that. And so when you take these ideas that work online and maybe work tangentially when there's millions of you tweeting all at once, as opposed to 300 people at 5 a.m, half of them journalists, that ain't it. That just ain't it. So, I mean, thankfully, they don't have this down. But as Opus was saying, you know, a lot of democratic policy is based on emotion. It is completely feelings-based. And again, this is why I keep saying the moral of the story every single time is this is why we need to keep fighting. This is why we need to keep speaking out. Actually understanding them, understanding ourselves, understanding our positions, understanding why our positions are better, understanding why their positions are worse, and understanding how we can get our positions to play an actual role in the legislation that rules this country. Because unfortunately, yeah, they have been effective in using emotion to make law. And I don't want to do that anymore. So, I mean, if you guys don't either, then I think we're all on the same page. So thank you so much for hanging out with me, guys. I really, really do appreciate it. You guys know I love hanging out with you guys. Big shout out to Unwanted Foe. Shout out to Lars and Rune. Shout out to Indie Film. And of course, the sponsor of the stream, shout out to Melted Mind Media. Thank you so much, guys. And even if you are not able to contribute the time that you spend here, being part of the conversation, just hanging out with me, that means so much to me. And I love doing this, guys. I love doing this. You guys taught me a little something. Hopefully I taught you a little something, and we call it a party. Am I right? You know, we're heading right over to the after party in Discord. The link is in the chat, in the description, all of that stuff. Meet us over there and become part of the family. The family. Exactly. Become a mafia boss. Well, you can't be a mafia boss, but I still haven't assigned my underboss yet. So we'll see. I'll see you guys over there. Thank you so much for hanging out once again. I really do appreciate you. This down here hiding is Morty, and I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, we are out of here. Peace.